I love that open.
One way to wake up in
the I love our countdown. I do.
Yep, that's it. Miller.
All your favorite flavors are on DoorDash.
A little rough. Rough and crazy.
And Moulton.
He is the gentleman who's got a few days off, and he entered into the garage, and he has not. He is rebuilding a tranny. He is mixing and matching sets of golf clubs to come up with just the right 14.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, broadcasting live from the Kobe Cooling Remote Studios, where it's always cool and comfortable.
Yes! Oh, I like it.
It's up to you now. It's up to you.
I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live. How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton, on this Monday? Hope you had a great weekend. Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. We stream this show at millerandmoulton.com. That's where you go to get our poll question. That's where you go if you miss any part of the show to download, because every hour of the show has its own podcast. So that's where our podcasts are. 15,000 of you download this show every single month. We are very happy about that, proud of that.
And if you did it every day in those numbers, we would like it even more. Tell a friend, download the show.
Yeah. And if you want to attach your name to the show, please let us know. You can chime in via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line at 479-5551, 479-5551. And Mark is most appreciative of those of you who chime in on the text line during the weekend in which you just feel the need to comment about something. We like those. How are you, Mark? How was your weekend?
It was okay.
Wow.
It was okay.
That was quite a sigh there. A pause before the sigh.
Look, it was good. Football was being played. I do not want to be negative when it comes to football being played. So the weekend in and of itself was tremendous. There was lots of good football, lots of good sports. But let me just give it to you this way. When on Saturday, in the first series of the first game you're watching, the quarterback that you bet on goes out of the game for the game, that's a bad sign.
Well, that's why they call it gambling.
Then when you're between two players in fantasy on Sunday and one guy drops a touchdown pass as the other guy is catching a touchdown pass, you just kind of look up and go, not going to be my week.
Yep.
So I enjoyed the weekend, but from a gambling perspective, it was oh so close, David. Oh so close.
I understand. Well, listen, I'm going to give you something to make you feel a little bit better. Because, Mark, I don't believe you've ever done this before. We are in our 14th year of doing a show together in two different acts, in numerous different studios, together and apart. And, Mark, we have been picking games that entire time. You, heading into Monday Night Football, are 15-0 picking NFL winners this week. 15-0. Here I am, 13-2. I'm the rest of the field in the U.S. Open, and you're Bryson DeChambeau. You are 15-0. Now, I don't know what you had to do to pull that Dallas Cowboys win over the Atlanta Falcons. I don't want to know how many chips you had to call in and all that. But man, oh man, 15-0 heading in to Monday Night Football, and you're riding the Saints. And for the record, ladies and gentlemen, Mark Miller is 15-0, having taken 14 favorites in the 1-point underdog Rams.
You are correct, sir. David picked 14 favorites in the Minnesota Vikings.
Right. Right. And so I lost on the Eagles and I lost on the Vikings. And just for the heck of it, I'm taking a flyer on the Raiders tonight.
And yeah, great. The problem is,
What do you mean the problem? Hold on. You're
Hey.
15-0.
you know what that gets me? Nothing. Buckers.
Oh.
Zip, zilch, nada.
I'll tell
You know what that Miami touchdown did at the end of the game?
Oh, that's a backdoor cover, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, it cost me a few dollars.
Yeah, well,
That was another pick 5 that I was up
No.
4-0 waiting on Miami.
No, that's
I
okay.
am
Hey,
kissing my proverbial sister this year right now with what's going on, David.
by the way, that catch by that UCF wide receiver for the Bills for the go-ahead touchdown mid-fourth. Ooh, what a catch. Man, oh man. That's got to be up there, one of the 10 best catches of the year when this season is done. My goodness, what a strange game that was. First off, we lost it for a half an hour. All right. Just wait. They go to commercial. We're waiting on a review as to whether or not the Dolphins has scored. They out at the 2. Is it incomplete? Okay. What? And then all of a sudden we come back from the commercial. It's the Broncos Steelers game. Wait, what? Man, that's a hell of a review.
Upon further review, we don't feel that you should have to watch this football game anymore.
Right. Upon further review, we go to Pittsburgh. Wait, what? So, man, oh man, and we'll get back to you when we can get back to you. Apparently, there's a power failure. Power failure.
And did they tell people? Because I was just noticing on social media that people were freaking out. So I didn't. We had the U.S. Open on for the locals channels. The way my setup worked this week, we went Bucks, U.S. Open on the locals. I did not watch the Dolphins until the fourth quarter.
Well, I will say you missed an entertaining game.
Yeah.
But it took them 8 to 10 minutes. It was just we're experiencing technical difficulties. All right. That was the CBS line. Then after about 8 to 10 minutes, they said, well, the reason we can't get back to you is there's a power failure. Now, my understanding, though, is that there was a power failure, but the game was still going on. Now, of course, the game would later be stalled. It would be delayed. So we had a power failure and a stoppage in an NFL game. Thank goodness they didn't have a power failure in that stadium back in February. I mean, we've already done that with the Super Bowl. It was called New Orleans, Niners and Ravens. We don't need to do it again. But my goodness. Heck of a weekend. And speaking, and by the way, thank you, Foot and Fan, in our Twitch chat room. And that's another place we're broadcasting the damn show. Miller and Moulton channel on twitch.tv. Twitch.tv, where you get to see us. And we give you a bonus hour, 9 to 10 every day. Every weekday, anyway. Unbelievable. I mean, we're just givers. That's all we do. But Foot and Fan pointed out that wide receiver's name is Gabe Davis. And Foot and Fan, I should know his name because that was such a good catch that he deserves to have his name called. And it was a great weekend for UCF. It was a great weekend. Georgia Tech, let's take you out back. All right. And let's have the rest of the country, by the way, take notice of the fact that we are taking you out back.
And particularly when Georgia Tech comes right down and scores. It's 7-0 Georgia Tech, and you're like, well, let's see what this team's got. And before you blinked, UCF had tied the game.
Right. And what they do.
Despite turning it over a couple of times and look a little shaky here and there in the first quarter, once they found themselves,
ball game.
Woof. It took literally a quarter for them to find themselves. And not saying the first quarter was bad, but they were just they were like the boxer in the early round, feeling out their opponent. And by the time the second quarter came, they had felt out their opponent, and their opponent was no match for them.
We had pointed out on Friday's show that UCF over the last 3+ years had only on one occasion, not scored 30 points in a game. And now I think it's 38 of their last 39 games they've gotten to 30. That's pretty impressive. It's also something to keep in mind from a betting standpoint. Just something to keep in mind. Now, I mean, you're probably the day that you ride them will be the day that they don't score 30 and or that the game goes under. But it's just throwing it out there. That's all. Something to keep in mind.
Lee Sterling liked UCF
Yes.
A lot.
A lot.
Gave it to you on the show for free, and it turns out that was his 45-unit play.
Lee had a good weekend also. Winning week on this show at 3-2. Got his game of the week right. All right, which was Jacksonville in the points, and got his 45-unit play, as Mark just said, in UCF. So Lee was a giver this weekend.
I was a taker. Made up for all of those bad over-under baseball bets I made about a month ago.
Yes, those of us that were riding the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Texas Rangers. Oh, well. Two teams that didn't necessarily pick up on where they left off last year, to say the least. 479-5551, 479-5551. Listen, we'll get back to football in a moment. We're a big golf market. Bryson DeChambeau winning the U.S. Open. Yay? Nay? Good? The sign of the apocalypse? Really? Now, hold on a second. You are the same guy, all right, that when the PGA Tour came back 3 months ago and DeChambeau looked like the Incredible Hulk, and then he, was contending and all that, and you said, hey, he's compelling, he's interesting, he's different.
I hate him. All true, including the last statement. And I really have no reason to. Watched with a guy who plays on the Latin tour, another guy who is played in some big events, good competitive golfer, a club pro, and a guy who fixes golf carts for a living. Those were all people in my house who were rooting for him to shank every shot he took from 130 on.
Wow.
I mean, literally, he got on the tee and everybody's just pull that OB, would you? I mean, those words come out every time he pulls it back. And it wasn't going to happen yesterday because he played great golf.
Yeah.
He was spectacular.
Yeah.
Don't let my hatred distract from the fact that Bryson DeChambeau wasn't good yesterday. He was absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, he played one of the 10 best final rounds in U.S. Open history. I mean, he really did.
Just terrific. I mean,
on a course that was eating people up and spitting them out yesterday.
And we found out I found out after our show on Friday. I don't know if you found out before our show on Friday, but apparently the superintendent at Wingfoot went up to the USGA and let them have it after Thursday. Let him have it because they forced him to shape that course the way that he was. And he looked at him and he basically said, 20 rounds under par. This isn't a Monday qualifier. It's the U.S. Open. And he took his course back over,
yes,
as you could tell.
Yeah.
He was pissed.
Yeah. Yeah. 65.
This isn't a Monday qualifier.
65, 366s, and a host of 67s. What in the world? This isn't the St. Jude Classic. This is Wingfoot. Please. You can't find 5 people off the street any day of the week who could shoot that on this course. Forget when we set it up. You want me to set it up so these guys can go low so that people can play fast? Paul Azinger did hint at that Thursday morning. He said, I just don't know with the limited sunlight. How are they going to get 156 rounds in if they have this thing brutal? He says, I think today the course is going to be set up easy. If you're going to be able to get it, you're going to be able to get it today. And sure enough, that was the case. But it is remarkable to me, all right, the hatred in the golf community for Bryson DeChambeau. It is remarkable to me. I will say this. You, Mark, owe Jack Nicklaus an apology. Okay, because Bryson DeChambeau makes Nicklaus in his prime, right, look like Lanny Watkins in terms of pace of play. Man, this guy is a human rain delay. Holy mackerel.
Well, he has to write 6 or 7 paragraphs after every shot talking about wind shear. And
Man, oh man, is he going to write a book about his 4 rounds at the U.S. Open? What is he writing down?
And the better question is, who would buy it?
Oh, I'm sorry. By the way, rules need to be enacted. And I know people hate over legislation. I get it, whether it's in government, whether it's in sports and what have you. When they take out the book to read the greens, that's when it stabbed me in the neck time. Honestly, drives me nuts. He's got a 5-footer for par on 18 with a 6-shot lead, and he's taken out the book to look at the contour of the green. You're up by 6. It's 5 feet. All right. If you can't read this putt on your own, I'm sorry. Man, oh man. There should be, in Mark now there's a limit as to how many times you can visit the mound in baseball. There should be a limit as to how many times you can take the yardage book and the topography book out of your back pocket. Honestly.
First off, one of the reasons that I hate him, get right to it since you brought up the book. Have you seen the cover of his book? It's a profile of him.
I think that's so badass. I love the fact he's shoving it in all of your faces.
Now, that is the part that I do respect about Bryson DeChambeau, is that he has done it his own way, and everyone's told him his way is wrong.
Yep.
And if you keep being told by everybody how wrong you are for doing something that's working, I think we can all at least understand his hatred towards all of us.
Yep.
Because he's an arrogant blankety blank, and he deserves to be an arrogant blankety blank because everybody's told him that he's been wrong, and he has been true to himself.
He's doing okay.
Guy, but he has been true to himself throughout, and he's the U.S. Open champ, and he played brilliantly yesterday.
Yeah, he really did. All right, I will say, every now and then, and I think we all have this. I'm not granted, I'm a strange duck. I get it. But I don't think I'm the only one that has these moments occasionally when watching television. All right. But when I saw the pairing on Saturday of DeChambeau and Patrick Reed, I thought to myself, I don't know if there's ever been a more unpopular pairing.
It was
in the history.
In a nutshell, 2020 with Saturday Reed and DeChambeau in the last week at the Open. That's all that was.
mean, I'm laughing. Okay, it's the old, all right, you can only root against one. Which one are you rooting against? And the person just looks at you like, are you serious? I have to make a choice between these two? I can't root against both? No, you have to pick one. Don't do that to me. No.
And it's such a tough call because Bryson's a blankety blank, but Patrick Reed's not a good human being. He's a cheater, he's a thief, and he doesn't like his mother. Come on. Can you say three worse things about a human being? He's a cheater, he's a thief, and he doesn't like his own mother. All those are true, by the way. Accused and caught cheating, accused and caught stealing, and it's a fact that he doesn't like his mother and father and his sister, just to throw in for good measure.
I know.
I mean, Bryson's actually a better person than Patrick Reed. He's just a bag. You all know the word that goes before that.
And he shot, I will say, come on, we all had to relate. The guy throws a 44 on the back nine up on the board. I mean, that's got to make you feel a little better about yourself, doesn't it? You don't normally see that in the second to last group in major tournament golf, do you? No, it was the last group, actually, wasn't it? Were they the last group on Saturday? Yeah. Right. You don't normally see that in the final group of Saturday of a major, a guy throwing a 44 up on the board. And I don't mean a 4 on 12 and a 4 on 13. You know, how'd that 9 holes go? 34, 44? Oh, really? Wow. We can all relate to rounds like that now, can't we?
I don't know what was stranger, watching the U.S. Open in September or the U.S. Open showing Masters previews for the tournament in November.
Boy, it was strange, wasn't it? Going back and forth between football and golf, football and golf, football and golf. What am I watching? The Tour Championship? No, this is the U.S. Open. Really? Wow, this is strange. So, yes, Bryson DeChambeau, very bad weekend for Nick Faldo. Very bad weekend. For most of the CBS golf crew, actually. Very bad weekend. Okay. Oh, boy. Because you can tell.
That weekend will be if he puts a green jacket on.
Oh, I know. And let me tell you, I don't know if they have a jacket that size just hanging around in the closet
58
either.
stout. The only thing I want them to do at Augusta is put a rule in and say if you test positive for steroids, you can't win, just so we can test him.
Well, here we go. Here we go.
This isn't the first time I've said this. I said that the first time I saw the guy, I've just bulked up. Bull crap. You're doing steroids.
Well, there's going to be, listen, Koepka hinted at it 3-4 weeks ago. I mean, he hinted at it with a quote. And this is now going to come out. Because here's the other thing. If you believe, Mark, they've been drug testing now on the PGA Tour for how many years? For performance-enhancing drugs? And no one has apparently no, that's not true.
Oh,
that's not true. Well, VJ had the antler spray, okay? And then there have been one or two guys who got caught taking it, and they said they were doing it for things other than golf. One, apparently it was legit, but he still, got suspended for a short time. But yeah, none of the top players, no one's doing anything nefarious. All right. But I'm telling you, you wait. People are going to go after this guy now. They do not think that what he's done is on the up and up. The other thing that he did, Mark, that, let's face it, most golf fans, particularly fans of the U.S. Open, don't like. He hit the fewest number of fairways to ever win the U.S. Open. He hit 6 fairways a day.
23 fairways over the course of 4 days.
Right. I mean, that's less than 50% of the fairways, because I think there's four par threes, right? So there's 14 fairways to hit. So he's going 6 for 14. He's going 43% in terms of hitting the fairway. The one test of golf in which the most important thing is to put the ball in the fairway. Paul Azinger on Thursday, I've walked this course now the last 3 days. He goes, I don't know how you can play it from the rough. Now, he did say, I know Bryson DeChambeau and some of the bombers are just going to try to hit it as far as they can and put the shortest club in they can and play out of the rough that way. I don't know if you can do it. He did. He did. And every now and then on the regular tour, he's been shaky on the greens. His putting has been at times shaky.
And his wedge game had been bad. For how good he is, his wedge game has been bad. That has been his Achilles heel. He was chopping things out on the green, and David, to the putting part, he was
terrific. Yeah, he was terrific. He was terrific for a guy whose wedge game was a lot like Dustin Johnson early in his career, where he had no control of his distance. Okay, obviously, DeChambeau seemingly was pin high or in the right place the whole week, and boy, did he putt well. Outside of missing that short one on number 1 yesterday, he was tremendous. That was the funny thing. He shot 67 yesterday. I don't know if it could have been worse. That's how well he played. He was amazing yesterday. He was a machine.
And as we go to break, David, I'll leave you with this off the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text line. Maybe DeChambeau was looking at the steroid supplement catalog and not the yardage book.
There you go. So you're saying that was a GNC book. Is that what you're saying, sir?
Correct. If those stores still exist.
They did 6 months ago, Mark, but maybe they don't now. Miller and Moulton. Starting 5 is next. Got a nice show lined up for you. We'll get back to golf in our 7 o'clock hour. And we've got a lot of football to discuss. And let's face facts. And a few other things that are out there in the sports world as well. That's what a Monday's for cleaning it all up. Hope you had a good weekend. Thanks for starting your week off with us. We're Miller and Moulton. This is Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
You only have one brain.
Oh, I forgot our anniversary.
You have just one sock.
Is somebody eating my socks? Oh.
But you can have more than one game.
Ah.
On Saturdays, get up for
Hate 'em.
college football.
Hate the Dolphins.
Well, it's not a hot seat, Coach Rick, with Dan Quinn. It's just, rent, don't buy. Because he was on the hot seat when the year started. I mean, they kept him, and they did so through gritted teeth and okay, we'll give you one more shot.
I mean, they have played Seattle and Dallas. Now, how they blew that game yesterday was quite special.
It's unprecedented, actually, in the history of the National Football League. No team had ever scored 39 or more points and not committed a turnover and lost. So I think it was something like 454-0 before yesterday. Yes, Dan Quinn's the defensive coordinator. He was defensive coordinator on the Seattle teams that went to back-to-back Super Bowls. The onside kick, I just apparently the Falcons hands team believed you had to wait 10 yards before jumping on it. It's the most I think
they just didn't think it was going to get there, but
I feel so badly.
I
feel so badly for the special teams coach because I don't know if he's still going to be employed when the day ends today. I'm surprised he was on the plane.
They don't like leads in Texas. Ouch. My buddy that was watching it's a huge Cowboys fan, and he just sat here. He didn't even get excited. We gave him a fist bump on the field goal, and he was just shaking his head. I mean, came in full cowboy gear. You know, I mean, he was fired up. Got away from the kid and the pregnant wife for 3.5 hours. I mean, you're talking about a happy human being. He walked in this house floating on air, and was just like, is there anything tougher than being a Cowboys fan? I'm like, yeah, a Lions fan.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things tougher.
Please.
The problem is you have these expectations that are unfairly built every year.
Boy, the injuries so far in the NFL. Oh, my goodness. Some teams are seemingly decimated with injuries already. We're 2 weeks into the season.
Saquon goes off on a car. I mean, the injuries yesterday were just devastating. Devastating, the guys that went out. And I didn't go down a rabbit hole. I only made one. If you're talking from a betting standpoint, I made one actual bet. I wagered $100 on UCF and won. I don't even put it this way. I was so confident I went out to dinner during the second half. And by the way, David, when you are back to eating out,
yes,
I'm guessing it's pretty close to where your mother-in-law is because it's downtown on First Street.
Okay.
There's a restaurant called King's Corner.
Uh-huh.
I went there once for lunch. We went for dinner. It is absolutely fantastic. Very reasonable. And they do burgers and tacos and a few other things, but really, really good food. Right across the street from that Publix.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking, kind of a little bit going towards the Edison home from downtown.
Yeah. King's Corner.
King's Corner. Spectacular.
Okay.
And I think that's right about where your mother-in-law lives, somewhere in that general vicinity, right? Kind of on the water.
Yeah.
Thereabouts.
Within 5 minutes. Yeah. 3. Yeah. Yeah.
The return on the 100 was 100. When you bet 100, you win 100. When you bet 100 and lose, you lose 110. That's how that game works.
Yeah, Spitz, I did hear. Apparently the new turf at MetLife, a.k.a. Giants Stadium, and the Niners players were saying it was sticky. Now, I will say the Jets had to play on it too, and the Giants played last week.
The Jets players aren't fast enough to know the sticky.
You're live.
30 minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? We are Miller and Moulton on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Streaming at millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel. It can be free, and you can also subscribe and get rid of the commercials, and it's an interactive experience, and you get to see the show and the whole deal. And following us helps us. Subscribing to us is very beneficial to us. Very. And we would appreciate that. There's even a tip jar. It's cute. They call it bits. All right. It's basically, it's like a little something for the effort. All right.
But it's not really a bit. because of 2 bits isn't 2 bits a quarter?
I don't know what a bit is. I don't know if a bit's a penny.
Well, in our world, a bit's a penny, but a bit
Right.
used to be a
Right.
bit quarter.
2 bits used to be a quarter, right?
Right.
Yeah. But a bit in our world's a penny.
Yeah, well, I like the other bit a lot better. I wish these bits were worth as much as those bits.
Right. So if you're an Amazon Prime customer, you get a free Twitch subscription. So just make the Miller and Moulton channel your channel of choice. And we would appreciate it. It would help us out. 31 minutes now after the hour. Time for
the starting 5. 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton starting 5. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
We'll get this out of the way, Mark. It's kind of like a high school football Friday when I'd lead with the blades. All right. Just figuring I don't want to put the blades at the end, so I'll just put them at the beginning. I mean, after all, there were 7,000 people in the arena. All right. So, Bryson DeChambeau won the U.S. Open by 6. He shot a 3 under 67 to finish 6 under. It's his first major championship. He hit the fewest fairways ever for a U.S. Open winner. Matthew Wolff was second. That swing is something, isn't it?
I love him. I was rooting for him all day.
Well,
something like that. I mean, since
Jim
Furyk, there's not been a guy that's had a quirky swing on tour. He's got a quirky swing. I love Matthew Wolff.
He does.
And he hits the country mile.
Yes, he does. And not only that, he's 21 years old.
Right.
Finished second in the U.S. Open at 21. It's pretty damn impressive.
65 on Saturday.
Right. It's not at a dog track named Wingfoot.
I mean,
yeah, just come on. Louis Oosthuizen finished third. NFL, the favorites this week so far are 14-1. And the only underdog that won was the Rams, and they were a 1-point dog. Otherwise, the other 14 favorites were all victorious, including the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 31-17 over Carolina. Leonard Fournette, thank you for that touchdown run late, especially if you were betting, say, the Bucs, laying 8, 8.5, or 9, and they were only up 7 with under 2 minutes to go. How about that little backdoor cover from Fournette running out the clock? Thank you very much. Speaking of backdoor covers, how about the Dolphins? Down 10 in the closing moments, and they punch one in to lose by 3, getting 6. Buffalo 31, Miami 28. Atlanta covered. Any consolation in that? Of course, they were up 20-0. Of course, they were up 39-30 with 2 minutes to play. Dallas beat them 40-39. The Atlanta Falcons became the first team in the history of the NFL. Mark, I don't know if you remember, but last Thursday was the 100th birthday of the NFL. The Atlanta Falcons became the first team to ever score 39 or more points, not commit a turnover, and lose. That's right. The NFL was 454-0 until the Atlanta Falcons yesterday. The Bears beat the Giants 17-13. Looks as if the Giants have also lost Saquon Barkley to a torn ACL. The Niners, it looks as if they've lost Nick Bosa to a torn ACL. Jimmy Garoppolo with a high ankle sprain. He could miss a month. Solomon Thomas went out with a knee injury. 6 Niners left their 31-13 win against the Jets with lower body injuries. The players complaining bitterly about the new turf at MetLife Stadium, saying it is too sticky. All right. It should be noted the Jets had 2 players leave with lower body injuries. One of them was a hamstring. And the Giants and the Steelers did play at that same stadium last Monday, and no one came out of that game complaining. However, the Niners, they don't want to play the Giants this week in that stadium. I mean, it's bothering them that much. I mean, I haven't heard players, Mark, complain about a field and its turf since the old vet.
That's exactly what I was going to say. This sounds like the old vet in the playing on the cement with the AstroTurf on top of it.
With the ridges also, because the Phillies used to play there. So in the early part of the season, you had the base paths with the ridges, and guys, there were some actually who successfully sued after their careers were over, saying that playing there cost them their careers. Speaking of Philadelphia, the Eagles are 0-2. The Rams beat them 37-19. The Rams jumped on them 21-3 and never looked back. And the AFC West is 7-1. And the only loss was one AFC West team beating another week 1. So, or NFC West, I should say.
Right. And the NFC East should be 1-7.
Yes.
It should be. I mean, make no mistake, it should be 1-7. But
Dallas with the miracle makes the division 2-6.
Teams coach could be worse than what McCarthy was for the entire game. And my goodness, was that tough to do.
Green Bay doubled up Detroit 42-21. That may not seem all that surprising. It is the Packers and the Lions after all, and it was at Lambeau. However, Detroit was up 14-3 in that game, which means that from that point on, Green Bay outscored them 39-7. Aaron Jones, 168 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. Boy, imagine if they had gotten Aaron Rodgers some weapons in this last draft. Indianapolis beat Minnesota 28-11. Kirk Cousins did not have a good day at the office. I'm talking about 113 yards passing and 3 interceptions. From a fantasy standpoint, that just doesn't seem to be a good day.
David, I can tell you what that was like because he was my starting quarterback.
Hello.
And I know at one point he had minus 3 point something points. I think he finished with negative. Maybe he got to the positive numbers, but yes, you are very correct in your assumption that was bad.
I'm not a fantasy player, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say when your quarterback throws for $113 with 3 picks, that's just not good.
Minus 1.48 for the game.
There you go.
When you lose a fantasy game by 9 points and your quarterback has negative numbers,
right?
It was not your Sunday.
No, if your quarterback had given you 8 points, you would have won your fantasy game. That's not asking a whole lot normally.
No.
But, apparently it was in Indianapolis. Arizona took care of Washington. It's the only game I got right against the number this week, 30-15. Arizona's 2-0, and they could start 5-0, folks. We pounded that rock for weeks leading up to the season. Miller and Moulton both said, 1, we're buying the Cardinals, and 2, look at their early season schedule. And if by chance they beat the Niners coming out of the chute, look out. It doesn't get a whole lot more difficult than yesterday for the next 3 weeks for Arizona. I'm telling you, it's about as easy as it can get in the National Football League. Pittsburgh beat Denver 26-21. Drew Lock suffered a shoulder injury early in the game, did not return. He might miss a little bit. Driscoll looked pretty good in the second half.
Driscoll looked better than I watched that entire game, obviously, and with volume, David. It was that was TV number 1.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was the Steelers and the better half, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. I had to laugh. One friend comes over who's from Pittsburgh, and he says, what TV is the Steelers going to be on? I go, are you really asking me that question?
Right.
The biggest one with the volume. What do you think?
Have you seen the dog collar, the Steelers dog collar on Frank? And you're wondering what TV the Steelers game's going to be on?
It was a glorious Sunday for my wife. Now that the daughter's old enough, we had, friend with daughter over. So daughter was playing with the little one, with the 2-year-old. And my wife, for the first time in, we think 6 years, well, 5 years, because that potted plant stage, you could watch football.
Right.
It's the potted plant stage. This is the first Sunday that the wife's been able to sit down, crack open a Guinness, and watch Steeler football. She was very happy.
Baltimore more than doubled up Houston 33-16. Just want to say this before you're all ready to bury the Houston Texans. Their first 7 games are very hard, and their last 9 are very easy. We pointed out they could easily start 2-5 and finish 7-2. Just look it up, keep it in the back of your mind. But the Ravens As 38 and 33 coming out of the chute, picking up where they left off a year ago. Kansas City needed overtime to beat Justin Herbert. And the LA Chargers, apparently Tyrod Taylor suffered a rib injury over the weekend, aggravated it in pregame warmups. I don't want to say it was a shock that Herbert started, but CBS didn't know.
Yeah, this was the guy that you put in your DFS starting lineup and win $1 million with. Somebody started Justin Herbert and a couple other guys that had monster games and they won. Aaron Jones and a few others and went, I'm just going to throw in the Chargers quarterback. I got a feeling Tyrod Taylor's not going to play.
Right. He's going to have a pregame rib injury.
Right.
All right. And they're going to play the rookie against the Chiefs. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. But seriously, I don't know how many people, because the Chiefs Chargers game locally, if you don't have, DirecTV or whatever, if you don't have the package, if you're just watching local, you miss the first 10 minutes of the game. All right. For various reasons.
Well,
I was actually
the delay of the Dolphins game.
Right. Because
that's the reason the
right.
Dolphins game had that delay. So that we're watching the end of the Dolphins in this market.
Right.
We're not getting the 4:25 game. That's what happened.
And all of a sudden, it switched over with 5 minutes to go in the first quarter, and the Chargers up 7 spit. All right. And you missed the fact that Nance and Romo had no idea that Justin Herbert was starting. In fact, Nance on the first play of the game said this must be a trick play because Herbert in there at quarterback. And then when he took the snap on the second play, they were dumbfounded. And as somebody who knows a little bit about how these network broadcasts go, for the network broadcasting the game to not know who one of the two starting quarterbacks was going to be is not kind of a big deal, is monumental. These networks pay $1 billion. They don't ask for much. They do want to know who the starters are. So
and the teams give them that information.
90 minutes. Yes, 90 minutes before kickoff, actives and inactives have to go. And then usually 20 minutes later, to use a college term, the sports information people or the PR people make their way into the booth and they say, any questions about lineups, pronunciations, anything? And that's usually when they say, hey, by the way, so-and-so is active, but is not going to start. All right. Because we actually got that little behind the scenes for the Fox Thursday night game, Browns and Bengals. Conklin, the normal starting tackle for the Browns. All right. They were working him out before the game. Turned out he was active, but they tipped us off and said he's active, but he's not going to start. 74 is going to start in his place. Oh, okay. Thanks for that. Appreciate that. So, yeah. That's going to be an interesting phone call, by the way. Anyway, I digress. 23-20, Chiefs won it in overtime. The kicker for the Chiefs made the game-winning field goal 3 times. Last one counted. Ryan Tannehill threw 4 touchdown passes. Hey, I'm not saying the guy's worth $30 million a year, that like he's getting paid. But I am telling you, he's better than you all think. That's all. That's all I'm saying. I was right. It just took a while.
Wait a minute. First off, I'm not giving you credit on Tannehill when you beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, okay? Let's slow down. Let's slow your roll there.
2-0, baby. 2-0. All right. He's 11-4 in his 15 starts with the Titans, ladies and gentlemen. 11-4
yards, but he did throw for 4 touchdowns. Derrick Henry still has not figured out a way to rush for a yard in that game, by the way.
No, he is not. And boy, the sports gods. You remember the last time Seattle, New England played in a game on NBC? All right. You remember that?
Had a pretty good finish, if I remember right.
Seattle down just outside the 1-yard line. All right. Decided to throw the ball on 3rd and 1.
Because they didn't feel they had a competent running back.
Right. So this time, it's the Patriots down 35-30, all right? They're on the 1-yard line, 3rd down, final play of the game, and they let Cam keep it, and Cam got stuffed. And Seattle holds on for the 35-30 win.
Why you always throw it from the 1, David?
Right. Right. Saints are a 5.5-point favorite tonight in Vegas against
All they have to do
Raiders.
is win for yours truly to have a perfect NFL picks week. 15-0. That'll
Mark-
get you absolutely nothing. That'll get you as much as the current sponsor of the starting five gives us.
Right, which is nothing.
Zip up.
Anthony Davis hit a 3 at the buzzer. Lakers beat Denver 105-103 to lead the Western Conference Finals to Spit. Game 2, Stanley Cup Finals tonight, 8 o'clock. That's when our coverage begins here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Just so you all know, yes, it's the Stanley Cup Finals, but the game is on NBC SN. That's right, not on NBC. It's only the finals. It's on NBCSN. Dallas leads 1-0. Little interesting tidbit in the WNBA semifinals. One series was able to get underway, and the other series was not because of COVID. And remember, they're in a bubble.
For the rest of us, that'll let everyone know that the WNBA is still playing. How many of you, when David said that, went, what?
But I mentioned it because they're in a bubble, and it still happened. And remember, what's in baseball, they're going to try to go to a bubble in the playoffs and all that. So it just goes to show you that despite the best laid plans of mice and men here, that this is still very much a real thing. Quickly in baseball, Rays lose, so do the Yankees, however. They saw their 10-game winning streak snap, so the Rays still have a comfortable lead. Final week of the baseball season begins today, by the way. Marlins split a twin bill with Washington, while the Braves won. Atlanta has a comfortable lead in the East. Phillies lost 6-3, so the Marlins actually pick up a half a game in their battle for second. The Reds beat the White Sox. The Cubs lost to the Twins. Cleveland over Detroit. Cardinals beat Pittsburgh 2-1. 3 teams are tied at 500, I believe, for the final playoff spot in the National League. Reds, Brewers, and Giants are all 500. One of them is going to be the 8th seed.
Well, the Cardinals are going to have to play all their games. Or how are they going to work this out?
Well, and they're not. They're not unless
go winning percentage.
Well, the Cardinals have a doubleheader scheduled against the Brewers on Friday, but the Cardinals are going to be 2 games short of completing their season. And I'm curious, what is Major League Baseball going to do? Are they going to make the Cardinals play a doubleheader on Monday? Because the Cardinals are only playing 58 games. And everybody else in theory is playing 60.
I don't know what this. I mean, you've got 3 teams at 500. The Cards are 2 games above 500. It's not like this is important with the Brewers, the Reds, both at 500, and one of them would miss the playoffs right now. Maybe both.
Correct. Exactly. Here's my thing, by the way. If, let's just say that you've got another team in the Central that's 30-30, and the Cardinals are 29-29. Okay, so you're both 500. Who's in second place? Seriously. I would go with the 30-30 team. They played more games. So this is interesting what they're going to do. Justin Verlander, by the way, needs Tommy John surgery. He's going to miss the rest of this year, all of next year, and he'll be 39 years old when he's ready to pitch again, and he'll be a free agent. So that'll be interesting. Dodgers lost, Padres won. Texas and San Francisco beat Oakland 14-2. And at 12 minutes before the hour, that is
the starting 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton starting 5. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Spits on Sports in our Twitch chat room says it's winning percentage. Yes, we know that it's winning percentage, but Spits, what's interesting is that the Cardinals are not playing 1 less game or 3 less games. They're playing 2 less games. It's an even number. All right, so the winning percentage can be exactly the same, particularly if it's 500. And what are they going to make the Cardinals do? Will they make them play a makeup doubleheader on Monday? It's very interesting here. Miller and Moulton, 11 minutes before the hour. Thanks so much for listening. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Hockey is back and cooler than ever. From the first puck drop to the final buzzer, the NHL skates here.
And yes, the television contract that the NHL has with NBC. NBC puts games either 2 and 3 or 3 and 4 on NBCSN to try to bolster their cable channel. But think about it. You're the NHL tonight. It's bad enough you're going up against Monday Night Football. you're going up against it on NBCSN.
Right. If you're
I mean,
going
you-
up against NBC, you might stand half a chance.
I mean, because the Monday Night Football's on ESPN. But, I mean, no.
Give a lot of that very popular Cortec that everyone is looking for and wants in their home.
Yes,
I
we
think they should make the Cardinals have to play the games.
7 truckloads coming to beat the tariff increase, and we're going to guarantee.
Especially since they caused COVID themselves by a handful of them going to the casino.
50 cents a square foot
I don't think they should get a pass.
for our customers.
So when it comes to Cortec, it's amazing the selection that you'll find at Floor Mike.
So they're going to play a doubleheader Monday in Detroit.
From all ready to be installed.
Yes, and we stock 100 colors of Cortec.
If you haven't been to the
I
Floor
guess, okay, the only way they wouldn't, right, would be if they're
Boulevard right next to
a game and a half up
Floormeisters.com.
for second place.
Floormeisters.com.
For over 20 years, the Good Feet store has been helping people with foot pain get back to doing what they love without their feet getting in the way.
Imagine if they're a game up.
Or visit us at the Good Feet store in Naples or our newest location.
So say they're 30 and 28. And Cincy and Milwaukee are both 30 and 30, or one of them's 30 and 30. Okay, that if you're the Cardinals, there's a lot of pressure on you to win the first game of the doubleheader. So this way you don't have to play the second game.
Per month. That's right. A new car for just $49 per month. 2020 Kia Rio, just $13,990. Yes, $13,990. Worried about your credit?
Well, I have 3 lights on me, foot fan.
Get almost anyone approved.
3 lights on me to try to balance it out.
Side down. Why?
And I lowered the 1 light.
Priced used car when you can buy a new car for less. Brand new Kias.
Mark, I'm told my lighting is better.
Really? And I thought it sucked, and I wasn't going to say anything. You're really dark, but I didn't have the heart to tell you.
Which is so funny because I look so much brighter now than I do when I'm, when I was on the road.
GallianaCars.com. 24 month lease, 12,000 miles per year, $39.99 to assign plus tax, title, dealer, and acquisition fee, 0 security deposit with lender approval, expires 1K.
As you can tell, we're not here to mess around.
So correct me if I'm wrong.
We've been doing this for a while now.
You're going to remember these names. We believe in truth.
So put some respect on our name. Gottlieb, remind them who we are.
Fox Sports Radio.
You're damn right.
Oh, it's too hot. Gotta run for game.
Florida is just too hot, so beat the heat with advanced custom windows.
Please sponsor this segment. We need it. Where do we ever?
Tinting for your car, home, and business. Right now, get 20% off any residential or commercial tint job. Call Advanced.
Yeah, that's my next thing. I'm going to have to put a light off to the left because I'm up against a wall here. So,
don't you have one of the lights that I have at your house?
Yeah, I do, but it's kind of big. It takes up a lot of the room, and I didn't want to have to break it out, to be honest with you. I've got some of the smaller lights on that take up very little room. But yeah, I'm going to have to, put a big light stand and this huge light in the middle of my bedroom.
For several procedures like LASIK, Visian, ICL, PRK.
Jeff Cameron at 8:30.
Lens exchange, giving patients better vision with a design.
Jeff Cameron.
The needs.
Tallahassee.
Yeah. Why?
Dr. Jonathan France.
Did they play? Did I miss? Oh, Norval's got COVID.
But
gotcha.
Hey, look,
Gotcha.
I could not talk about Florida State the whole year and be fine with it.
Financing available and affordable.
Canes look damn good.
Yeah, they did.
That's exactly the win you described, David. Even though you didn't predict, but that's exactly what you said. Hey, go in there.
Just go take care of business. Get on the plane.
Yesterday at 10:30ish. Guy coming out with a U shirt on. Looked at him. I said, "You must be in a good mood." He's, yes,
This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Six minutes before the top of the hour. Thanks for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. We stream the show at millerandmoulton.com. We broadcast it live every day on the Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel. We still have the Miller and Moulton YouTube channel. We just put highlights of the show on that. It's like a video podcast, if you will. Speaking of podcasts, that's where you go to millerandmoulton.com. That's also where you go to vote in our poll question, which is something that we don't have one for today yet. What was our one for the weekend?
was the biggest must-win of the game, and it ended up being the Cowboys getting 38.2% of the vote. That was ahead of Philly. That was ahead of the Niners, and the Colts were in last. The Colts won. The Niners won. The Cowboys won. Philly did not win, but Dallas shouldn't have. They did end up with the most votes in the must-win category and somehow pulled off the amazing comeback, much thanks to the Atlanta special teams.
Unreal. Oh, there's the onside kick. There's the onside kick. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. It's a hot potato. Don't touch it.
Don't touch it.
It's spinning. Oh, blank. It's got
Wait,
10
don't
yards.
stop spinning and see what's pointed at. Then you got to kiss that lineman. Oh, no, that's a different game.
Wait. Oh, that's right. They're not allowed to touch it till it goes 10 yards. We can. I wish somebody had told me.
Could have picked it up and ran it in for a touchdown, for the love of God.
It's unbelievable. You'd see something like that in Pop Warner.
Maybe. Not down here.
Well, no, we care about football in Florida.
Right.
I mean, maybe, other places I've lived, you might have seen that in Pop Warner, but I mean, man, honestly, it's like young kids. You know, when you're young kids, you're scared of the ball a little bit, but it was going so slow. I don't even know how you could be scared of that onside kick.
Correct again. And if they don't have that blunder, the way in which we are talking about Mike McCarthy today nationwide is vastly different.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, remember week 1, he doesn't kick the chip shot field goal to tie it early fourth quarter.
He goes for it with a fake punt inside of his own 30 or right around his own 30.
Yep.
And
then it was there, Mark.
Gets the game to down 9 late, and instead of kicking an extra point to make it a 1-possession game, he goes for 2. That if you win and get it, you're down 7. But if you don't get it, you're down 2 possessions.
Right.
I mean, it was horrific coaching by McCarthy, and yet he gets the win.
Right. Yep. Didn't deserve it.
He did not, but they are 1-1 and tied for the lead.
Right.
In the NFC East. Miller and Moulton. More football talk on the other side. Thanks so much for listening, where you can watch the show at twitch.tv/Miller and Moulton. What chart is he using?
Exactly. Down 9.
A hearing or a sight chart? I think he just had one of those, that you get at the eye doctor. That was it.
Hey, the Bengals coach was about to do the same thing Thursday night. They score, cut it to 9. They've got the offense out there to go for 2. Now, fortunately for him, they reviewed the play, ruled the guy down. But Troy and I were looking at one another. He goes, he's going for 2 down 9. I go, it looks that way.
394821542. When you think of air conditioning companies, we hope you think of Kobe Cooling. No nonsense and no pressure. We're the company your neighbors use. License CAC.
Yep. What's it? Last day of summer?
Kobe.
Is tomorrow fall or
today? Isn't it?
The answer is
21st. Don't we usually start these things on?
It's either 21st or 22nd. It all depends.
We're right. We were right, and they were right again. Here's where they were
The
right.
Yom Kippur. Oh, that's next Monday. I got a day off next Monday.
Any conversation with Russell Wilson.
Rosh Hashanah was Saturday.
Yeah.
In case anybody's wondering.
Was it Friday? Was Rosh Hashanah Friday?
Saturday. According to my phone, Saturday, David.
And the last dude you want to tick off is Aaron Rodgers, because that guy can play. And it wasn't just that he could play.
Yeah, today's the last day of summer.
I was told Aaron Rodgers' skills are starting to fade.
So I guess this means, Mark, today's our last day in the 90s. We dropped to 89 on Tuesday.
And I said about him last year, and I tell you about him now. If you think he can't play, or you think
Yeah,
his skills,
I loved Andy Reid's new visor.
you watch.
All right, with aerodynamic, and they put little holes on the sides so it wouldn't fog up.
Fox Sports
That's
Radio,
spectacular.
FM.com.
Think about all the things that an organization has to work on during the week. Hey, figure out a way that the coach's visor won't fog up.
Well, and can't you see it? Can someone get this damn visor to not fog up?
Imagine them testing it out and they put it on. Okay, you ready? Start breathing heavy.
What do you do there? Hey, Mahomes, throw a pick in practice so he gets a little more ticked off.
Exactly, so he can get worked up. Do me a favor, run 20 yards, pretend to yell at an official, see if it fogs up. Yell at Bieniemy for a play call. Don't swear, though. He never swears. So Tuesday morning, 9:30. Good to know. Okay. Thank you. I love the coaches who are just pulling their face shields, masks, or whatever it is down below their chin, and then occasionally bringing it back up. It almost seems like they know when they're on camera and they pull it back up. Belichick had trouble with it last night. It was all over the place. I thought he was almost trying to wear it as like an eye patch at one point.
Yep, that's it. Miller.
You did.
Little rough.
And Moulton.
He is the gentleman who's got a few days off, and he entered into the garage, and he has not left. He is rebuilding a tranny. He is mixing and matching sets of golf clubs to come up with just the right 14.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, broadcasting live from the Kobe Cooling Remote Studios, where it's always cool and comfortable.
Yes! Oh, I like
It's up to you now. It's up to you.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Couple minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? We are Miller and Moulton. This is Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. We stream this show at millerandmoulton.com, millerandmoulton.com. That's where you go to vote in our daily poll question. We'll put one up soon, I promise. That's where you can go if you miss any part of the show to download our podcast. Every hour of the show gets its own podcast. You can find them at millerandmoulton.com. We broadcast live every weekday on twitch.tv, the Miller and Moulton channel. If you're an Amazon Prime customer, you get a free Twitch subscription. Make the Miller and Moulton channel your choice. It's free to you, and it really benefits us. Twitch.tv/Miller and Moulton. We even give you a bonus hour on Twitch exclusively every day from 9 until 10 a.m., Monday through Friday. So it's a hot steaming deal. I mean, for those that subscribe, you get more for your subscription than you do if you just listen on the radio. 479-5551 is how you can chime in via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line, 479-5551, or you can chime in our respective chat rooms. Mark, better win this weekend, UCF or the Hurricanes?
The Hurricanes, because UCF was expected to win. They were a 7.5-point favorite. That's a bottom rung ACC team that they were supposed to beat, and they did what they were supposed to. Miami was in a 2-point pick'em type game on the road, be it not I don't know if we call 2020 road games real road games. I don't even know anymore. But we talked on Friday at length and said, there was a time that Miami would go win this game and take care of business, and we'd think a little bit more of the Hurricanes than we do. Well, you and Lee both thought that and picked Louisville.
Yep.
Didn't think they had enough. And come on, Lee wants to pick Miami every darn week. He
is a Canes homer. Let's be honest.
I don't know if you guys are aware, his daughter was a cheerleader for the University of Miami.
Right. And I think she was on the 5-year plan. But yes, okay, Lee is a Canes homer, loves the Canes, wants them to be the U desperately, and picked Louisville -2.5.
And you know what the Miami Hurricanes have, David? A quarterback.
Yes, they do.
A dynamic quarterback.
Yes, they do. They also have a kicker. They also, those couple defensive linemen who transferred in. I will say, Manny Diaz had a great offseason from a transfer standpoint, and they all paid big dividends in the win against Louisville. All of them. So, hey,
The
listen.
kicker especially. I mean, come on. Kid makes 2 50-yarders when they lose to FIU last year, and they get him to transfer to them. That's spectacular.
Yep.
That in and of itself is like, hey, you beat us.
Right.
I mean, it's like right after the game, you shake his hand and say, really good job. We need a kicker next year. We want you to transfer here, and we're going to give you a scholarship, okay?
Right. Yeah. Come on now. What do you say? A little something for the effort? Thanks for beating us. Now you want to join us? And so, yes, that FIU kicker is nails. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. But that was a good win for the Canes, and they kept Louisville at arm's length. They got up on them early. Every time Louisville scored, they answered it. And I got to admit, I mean, the game, to me, there wasn't enough defense for it. I mean, does anybody were both defenses playing without safeties? I mean, what? You break the line of scrimmage, that's a touchdown? I mean, isn't somebody supposed to be back there that, they run over after about a 15, 20-yard gain, they tackle you. They're a safety. By definition, what are they there for? But apparently not in the Miami-Louisville game. The safeties were elsewhere.
By the way, Jeff Cameron coming up in the 8 o'clock hour because, one, the Florida State football coach has COVID.
Right.
And that's the good news. The bad news, they got to come to Miami this week and play.
That's the good news. How bad are things in Tallahassee? The head coach has COVID, and it's not the worst story with the football team.
Right.
Gotcha.
He's going to be okay. We're not sure about the football team.
But as Spitz on Sports is asking in our Twitch chat room, how are the Canes only a 9.5-point favorite on Saturday? Florida State looked god-awful against Georgia Tech in the last 3 quarters. Miami's looked very impressive in their 2 wins this year. Miami's at home, as you said, Mark, for whatever that's worth. All right. What's maximum capacity in that stadium? 13,000. Well, you figure they'll have it for the Knowles game, right? I mean, that should be whatever capacity is, you figure they're going to show up for this game. And I can attest, some fans make a difference. The atmosphere difference between New Orleans with no fans and Cleveland with 6,000 was tremendous. That's how big the difference is with even some bodies in the seats. But how is Miami only a 9.5-point favorite? That's very interesting when you think about it. That's screaming out at you. Game's going to be closer than you think. Game's going to be closer than you think.
What you just said, David, there's no defense. And in theory, after the debacle that Florida State put on the field against Georgia Tech, they've now had 2 weeks to try to get their offense to perform. But I don't know if in that 2 weeks they were able to develop another offensive lineman because they still can't block.
Yeah, or a quarterback. I don't think it was enough time to develop the young kid at quarterback, nor, all right, listen, if you couldn't block Georgia Tech's backups, I don't know how you're going to block Miami starters, but that's just me.
I hope
could be
that
wrong.
This Saturday I get a little bit more of the bug, though. And I did watch most of the noon games. I took the wife and daughter out for dinner Saturday night, so I left in the second half of the UCF game and got home early second quarter of the Miami game. But I don't know, something about Sundays with no fans or limited fans, and the fact that it's Sunday and I know it's at 1 and maybe it's fantasy, I don't know what it is, but maybe next week when I start seeing some real football games, I'll get excited about college. But right now it has been very hard for me on this. It was difficult for me on Saturday to get pumped up to watch bad football.
Well, what are you talking about? The ACC played on Saturday. UCF was in action on Saturday. Are you saying you missed the SEC?
The SEC, the Big 10, the Big 12's unwatchable. Unwatchable. I mean, I felt horrible for the kid from Oklahoma State. We hope that that's not a severe injury. But they lose their number 1 quarterback on the first drive. I mean, when I'm still having to watch Georgia State and Lafayette play, or Louisiana now, maybe next week will be better. But what ACC game was there that was interesting? Duke and Boston College? I mean, there's nothing there. And like you said, Ham and Louisville there was a lot of offense, but it was really, really bad defense. Like there was nothing about that was good.
Right.
You know, at least on Sunday, I think I'm watching pretty decent football.
No, I hear you.
The product on Sunday is bad. I thought the product Saturday so far has been bad. Now the better teams start playing this week. The SEC's back. Thank goodness. Big Ten's going to wait until the 20. We've got another month before the Big Ten plays football.
Right.
And I'm sorry, I know they've got some problems in East Lansing, and they've got some problems at Rutgers, and they've got some problems at Wisconsin. But holy cow, a month we've got to wait for this?
Yep.
If we watched how good the NFL product's been with no preseason, can we get this moved up a little bit?
Little difference in the 3:30 CBS product last week to this coming week. It was App State Marshall 48 hours ago. It's going to be Mississippi State LSU this Saturday. It's going to be a little different. That's all. Marshall, by the way, with the win, cracking the top 25. Good for them.
Whatever.
Hey, good for them. You know, it's their moment. Whatever. It's their moment. Let them enjoy it. It's their moment. They got the national television. They get, the bottom of the top 25. They're going to get pushed out either by a loss or the other teams that, start playing.
Do you start ranking Big Ten teams even though they haven't played a game yet?
No, that would be unfair.
Why?
Really?
Really? I can't put. If I have a ballot, I'm putting Ohio State ahead of Marshall right now.
Okay? What, at 0-0?
Right. Yes.
This goes back to what we talked about. Remember that poll question from like 4 weeks ago? Okay. 10-0 UCF or an 0-0 Ohio State? Who gets the final playoff bid? And like 70% of you said Ohio State.
Well, I mean, Alabama is still ranked number 2. Georgia's still ranked number 4. They haven't played. Why can't I put Ohio State on here? Why do I have to look at this and see Marshall?
I say give their teams their moment. Their final moment in the sun, if you will.
Here's poor Louisiana Lafayette. They're 19th in the country at 2-0. They're going to drop. They could win their next 6 games.
Right.
And drop out of the top 25.
Completely. All right. Though, instead of the UCFs of the world who go up a spot. Lafayette's going to be like, yeah, we keep winning. We keep dropping.
UCF ranked 13th in the country. The Big Ten's going to start playing. They're going to drop to 20th.
Although that's the beauty of Saturday's win against Georgia Tech. How far will UCF drop? All right. Has UCF now, Mark, gained enough credibility? Mark, I am being brutally honest. I am not saying if you put UCF in the Big Ten, but I am saying right now, let's face it, the polls are a beauty contest. That's what they are. They're a beauty contest at a singular snapshot in time. All right. Right now,
the profile of UCF is spectacular.
Because also, why are teams ranked certain ways? They're ranked based on what they've done in the past. Okay. So listen, we know Ohio State would be ranked ahead of UCF. We know Penn State would be ranked ahead of UCF. Wisconsin or UCF? Right now. You're allowed to vote for Wisconsin and other Big Ten teams at 0-0. They're going to rank Wisconsin ahead of UCF, yes or no? Having not played a game. You think so? Okay. Michigan.
That's the one I wanted to get to. Because they're not going to be ranked ahead of Penn State or Ohio State.
Right.
They could possibly be ranked ahead of anybody not named Wisconsin in the West.
Okay.
The Michigan one. And you led me right to where I wanted to go, because right now I would love to find out from a sports book, what would the line be right now with UCF having played and Michigan hasn't? Let's just, I know it's a hypothetical, but if they were meeting on a neutral field, what's the line?
Oh, I think it's a virtual pick 'em. I think it's within 3. For either one, Wisconsin or Michigan, I think it's a very small number. In fact, I'd love to see a bowl game, UCF against one of those two teams.
UCF would too. You know who wouldn't want to see that bowl game?
Wisconsin or Michigan, right? Especially since it'd be in Florida.
That's why it'll never happen. Just for the record, the only way that happens if it's in a New Year's Six bowl. It's the only way it happens.
I mean, listen, right now, don't you want to see UCF play Notre Dame? I mean, honestly, if you put UCF in the ACC right now, where do you think they are? Second, third best team?
Fourth.
Who would you put ahead of them?
Clemson, Notre Dame, and North Carolina.
UCF would beat North Carolina. I'd back up the truck on UCF against North Carolina.
Okay.
But okay.
North Carolina. The quarterback's better in North Carolina. They're a bigger, stronger team. I'll take North Carolina.
Fine, but that's good. So you think they're third or fourth? Fourth?
And I think they're fourth or fifth in the Big Ten.
Okay.
I mean, put it this way. They'd wipe Sparty off the floor right now. Don't kid yourself. They'd beat Michigan State by 30. By 30. Easy. I mean, and the thing is that they're fourth in the Big Ten or fifth in the Big Ten is a lot closer to the teams ahead of them than the distance between them and the, Michigan State's, Purdue's, Indiana's, Rutgers. I mean, they would kill those teams, in my opinion.
If I'm the Big 12 and I'm watching UCF or Cincinnati or Memphis, I understand the difference between dividing the pot 10 ways versus dividing the pot 12 ways. But there's a part of me, if I'm in the Big 12, that's thinking we got to add a little more meat to our bone here. I mean, outside of Oklahoma and hopefully Texas, how much meat's really on this bone? I mean, are we really going to keep trying to pump up the TCUs and the Baylors and the Oklahoma States and the Iowa States of the world? Really? Really? I mean, Mark, I'm starting to wonder, does the Big 12 need the I-4 corridor? Instead of keeping some of these schools at arm's length, I'm almost wondering, do they need them to add some meat to their bone? 479-5551, 479-5551, the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. But a good weekend for UCF and for the Hurricanes, doing what they haven't done in a while, going on the road, top 20 opponent, and we said on Friday, take it for what it's worth. Louisville's ranked in the top 20, so hey, it is what it is. This snapshot in time, it's a road game against a top 20 team. How many times have the Canes recently, and by recently, I said the last 15 years, how many times have the Canes gone on the road, okay, and taken care of business against the top 20 team and gotten on the plane and flown home? And that's why me and Lee Sterling and many others picked Louisville. It's like, hey, until you do it, I'm sorry. I'm not buying this whole, Canes are back thing. You were back for 2 months in 2017. That's it. In the last 12 years, it's the only time you've been back. 2 months in 2017. Sorry, I'm not buying it. Looked pretty damn good Saturday night.
And yet I'm not buying it either yet. Because I'm not sold on how good Louisville was. I don't know if they're really a ranked team. We will find out. And I don't know when we get to really find out more about Miami unless they screw up between now. Now they get Florida State in a week off. Then we find out. Because they get 2 weeks to prepare for Clemson. Okay. That's the time. And regardless of the game against Clemson, even if they lose the rest of the ACC, we'll find out because they don't play Notre Dame. They have North Carolina at the end of the season. That very likely, based on beating Louisville, even if they lose to Clemson, you think that game against North Carolina is a shot at a rematch with Clemson.
Yes. Yes, because just from a scheduling standpoint, maybe that's the only loss they have. And so they have a chance to get in the ACC championship game because of it, especially if you're a Miami fan. You're rooting for Clemson, obviously, to take care of Notre Dame. Notre Dame's offense got on track against South Florida this week. That's for sure. That's for sure. South Florida, who didn't look good offensively in their win against the Citadel, well, their offensive struggles continued in South Bend, not scoring and getting hammered 52-0. Notre Dame's home winning streak, I believe, now is up to 20, which is a record. And they've been playing football for a while, and pretty good football for a while in South Bend, and yet here they are, I think, second longest home winning streak. 479-5551, 479-5551. We'll get back to football, okay, and talk NFL later on in the show. We'll head to Tallahassee in a little more than an hour and talk to Jeff Cameron. It's Knowles Canes week, and the Florida State head coach has COVID. So how are things going in Tallahassee? Well, our coach has COVID, and it's not the worst news that we have. I don't want to say things are bad with the football program or anything, but
all things equal, if we had a quarterback, I could deal with the coach having COVID.
Right. In fact, I might make that trade. I mean, the guy's only been here a short time. I mean, I hardly know the guy. Miller and Moulton. Bryson DeChambeau, i.e. Darth Vader, i.e. Ivan Drago, won the U.S. Open going away. And apparently everyone in the golf community is spitting mad. Mark, as we head to break, when's the last time a win was this unpopular? Patrick Reed, the Masters? More, in fact, maybe that's our poll question.
It's pretty good.
All right. More unpopular win. Patrick Reed at the Masters, Bryson DeChambeau at the U.S. Open.
Or the Patriots anytime. Oh, I just had to throw that in there. Miller and Moulton. Recapping the Open next. Thanks for listening. You can follow us, millerandmoulton.com, and watch us at twitch.tv.
This is The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
Odell Beckham, this guy 5 years ago was the best wide receiver. We were talking about Randy Moss. Like, it's not working. I've said this before. Relationships can't be this hard. It can't be this hard. Rip the Band-Aid off. That's what Arizona did with Josh Rosen. It's what Baltimore did with Earl Thomas. Just rip the Band-Aid off. Take the heat for a day. Rip it off.
Colin Cowherd, weekdays at noon on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com. Are you ready to take your game and athletic training to the next level? Looking to improve your speed, posture, endurance, conditioning, and mental training for tennis or any sport? Reach your star potential at Academia Sanchez Casal, Florida, and Naples. Operated by tennis superstars. Olympic silver medalist Emilio Sanchez and Arantxa Sanchez, the former world champ with 14 Grand Slam titles. You won't get this level of training anywhere else. And now expanded to include highly stylized off-court hydro pool programs for ages 10 and up. World-class athletic trainer and founder of Hydro Athletics, Stephen DeViti, will coach you or your child through a unique program of high-intensity, low-impact, results-driven hydroathletic training using the latest in resistance technology and equipment, safely in compliance with CDC guidelines. Group or one-on-one sessions, short and long-term programs for beginners through elite professional athletes of any sport. Step up your game and enroll now. Find Stephen DeViti Hydro Athletics on Instagram or visit asc-florida.com.
Customers have said they thought our trade-in offer here at Naples Nissan was too good to be true. So, before they drove their new Nissan home, we asked a few of them to share their story. Here's Tracy from Cape Coral.
My 2012 Camry had about 78,000 miles on it. I heard Naples Nissan was offering MSRP for your trade-in, but I was a little skeptical. After I called them and checked out their website, everything seemed legit. So I decided to go for it. The original MSRP for my car was just over 19 grand, and I thought, no way, that's how much I'm actually getting. So happy I was wrong, and now I get to drive home in my brand new Altima. It's the real deal, people. Totally worth the drive.
If your trade-in is less than 8 years old with less than 80,000 miles on it, come get the full base MSRP for it and drive home in a brand new Nissan today. Only at Naples Nissan. Full details at naplesnissan.com. Offer on select models with approved credit and cannot be combined.
Oh, it's too hot, gotta run or shade.
Florida is just too hot, so beat the heat with Advanced Custom Window Tinting. Advanced Custom Window Tinting is locally owned in Cape Coral.
Well,
window tinting for your car.
Foot fan, I don't know if it's so much ego as in it's just conference viability.
Custom Window Tinting.
You know,
888-338.
so the Big 12 has to think about
TINT. or online. And
You know, can we survive if we're just Oklahoma and Texas? Is that enough? Because the danger is Oklahoma and Texas could then just decide to take their ball, go somewhere else, and you're done.
Finding our footing, getting back on our feet. Life continues.
Now, you're a very good basketball conference. Softball, baseball.
None of those matter.
But that's the problem.
Basketball does, but once you start talking about other crap, nobody cares.
Right.
Doesn't make any money, it costs money. Remember that. Some schools will make money at baseball, but the conference as a whole loses money with those sports. So they don't matter.
The well-being of our customers, associates, and community.
Well, in Spitz, as for Notre Dame, listen, I'm not an Ian Book guy. I think he's a placeholder. I think he's a game manager. You know, I know he has an impressive one-loss record.
Quality of
Ryan.
lives. 2 feet.
Good morning, Mark Miller, David Moulton in Florida. How are you?
Making your life miserable?
Doing good, man. Thanks for your time as always. We are literally going on in, I think, about 15 seconds. Oh, no, we're going on in 45 seconds. I just had the last 30 come in my ear. So let me patch you in. David goes first. I go second. And as always, Ryan, thanks for your time, man.
Energy efficient pump, saving you over $500 a year. We're a family company. And for over 40 years, we've been doing business right.
The prescription is the Pool Doctor for award-winning pool service.
What that gift means, but thanks.
MyPoolDoctor.com or 239-573. State certified CPC 057088.
Now back to Miller and Moulton. No. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
"26 minutes past the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Top of the morning to you. We're Miller and Moulton. This is Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel. A reminder, Game 2 in the battle for Lord Stanley's Cup is tonight, 8 o'clock, NBCSN, by the way. But we'll have it for you right here, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. He's Ryan Ballinger. He is host of the 19th Hole Golf Show, and you can read his work at golfnewsnet.com. And, well, you can follow him on Twitter. Why don't you? Ryan Ballinger. Ryan, top of the morning to you. Thanks for your time. How are you?
Well, thanks for having me on.
We are pondering a poll question. More unpopular win. Patrick Reed at the Masters, Bryson DeChambeau at the U.S. Open. Man, do people not like this guy?
I mean, I think it would be Patrick Reed if you asked their peers. Let me put it that way.
Absolutely their peers. Golf fans, would it be the same? Because Captain America, even though he's just not a good person, Captain America, that part resonates with some golf fans. I don't know any golf fans that like DeChambeau.
I mean, I did see some defense of Bryson in my timeline as coming down the stretch yesterday. But yeah, I get that sentiment that a lot of golf fans aren't ready to embrace what Bryson's been doing the last few months, really last year plus. But I don't think they're ready to come around to it. And I don't know if they're ever going to come around to it. And in part, that's who Bryson is. And in part, that's what Bryson just did. So, some people are probably never going to come around to appreciating what he just accomplished.
And I don't know, I was with a guy who plays on the Latin Tour and another guy who's played in some tour events, and they were both wanting him to hit every shot out of bounds. And they both respect the hell out of his game. What is it in your eyes that just, because I get the fact that Bryson has been this way. I mean, here's how I play. Here's what I do. And everybody has told him for so long that it's wrong. So there's a lot of me that can defend him being a blankety blank, if you know what I mean, Ryan. But what is it you think about him that just rubs people the wrong way? Because it certainly does.
There is a chip on his shoulder, and I don't think he's the only pro who's like that. Bryson is like that. Brooks is like that. Brooks has 4 majors to his credit and still acts like he's playing on the Korn Ferry Tour. So and some people love that. I think that Bryson's chip manifests itself as defending himself as he's a genius, and he hadn't gotten to genius level proof yet. It hadn't happened in the lab yet, and now it finally has. But I think a lot of purists, a lot of people who watched golf for a long time, imagine golf being played a certain way, and Bryson doesn't play golf that way. I mean, his strategy is bang it as far as humanly possible. If it hits the fairway, cool. If it doesn't, I'm going to hit a wedge up to the green and probably have a birdie putt. And there's really not a whole lot you can do to stop me because I'm not going to make a whole lot of bogeys. And that style is tailor-made to every style of golf, but particularly a U.S. Open like this one at Winged Foot, where the USGA decided they're going to make the fairways super narrow and they're going to make them really hard to hit. And back in the old days, you had to be scared of that, and you would just bunt it down there as far as you reliably could. Well, Bryson doesn't have to do that. He doesn't care whether it lands in the fairway or not. He's down there 365. He's hitting a wedge, and it doesn't. And I think that ultimately bothers a lot of fans who want to try to see some of themselves playing golf in what the pros do. No one can see themselves in Bryson DeChambeau.
He's Ryan Ballinger, host of the 19th Hole Golf Show. Follow him on Twitter at Ryan Ballinger, and also read his work at golfnewsnet.com, golfnewsnet.com. Forget the fans, all right, and even forget a couple of sports talk show hosts in Southwest Florida. I don't think the network announcers are crazy about him either. And we have to start wondering, though, is he changing the sport? I mean, and if you really think about it, there hasn't been anybody since Tiger that's changed the sport. Is Bryson DeChambeau changing golf?
I think he is just a natural extension of where golf has been going for 20 years. And it starts with Tiger, right? Starts with Tiger and the solid core golf ball, the Pro V1 or the Bridgestone ball, which was really the first solid core ball. And that meant everybody was 15 yards longer without doing anything. And then they realized, wait, maybe I can get even longer with better equipment and better fitness. And I can just kind of reach farther and farther. And that this has kind of been that natural progression. But no one has ever blatantly said, yeah, we're hitting it farther. But how much farther can I hit it? What can I do within the rules of golf to absolutely maximize how far I can hit it as my one and only strategy? And I think that's what rubs touring pros. I think that's what rubs golf insider types the wrong way, because there's just this presumption that you're just going to kind of, I guess, play in the same sandbox as everybody else. But I don't think that all of a sudden we're going to see 17-year-old kids playing AJGA events, put on 45 pounds, and start swinging 48-inch drivers. I don't think that's going to happen. But if Bryson keeps winning like this, you have to start thinking in those terms, because how are you going to beat the guy? I mean, as we said earlier, he's taking bogey out of the equation. There aren't drop shots that he has to think about. The only thing he has to think about is birdies and eagles. And when you can think that way playing professional golf, it's a paradigm shift. It's a totally different world. And so I don't think there's going to be an immediate change, not like Tiger, right? Tiger's change was kind of easy to understand. Get in the gym. Bryson's change is kind of hard to understand. Drink 20 protein shakes a day and just swing out of your shoes. That's something that's really hard for golfers to wrap their minds around. But that's not to say that it can't become the norm within 5 or 10 years if he's crushing it like this.
Ryan, it seems difficult for most people who have followed sports to put on 40 pounds in that length of time with protein shakes. I think he's taking steroids. I've made no bones about it. I've never made bones. You don't do it any other way, in my opinion. I've watched other athletes in sports my whole life do this. We know why. The PGA is the worst testing organization in sports. No one tests positive for anything, and we all know that they do some things. We all know. And I'm not talking about the steroids. I'm talking about other things that they never get caught for or we never hear about. So do you think they're going to try to catch him? Because as David mentioned, the other golfers, I don't think love it. The announcers don't love it. And I don't know how much the PGA loves this style of golf. You think they're going to start coming after it, whether he is or not? Koepka kind of said something. It's one thing for me to say something. How long before people inside the ropes or those who cover it very close to the ropes start, instead of hinting towards it, saying it?
It's a good question. I mean, I understand any kind of skepticism about it because, I mean, I lived through the steroid era of baseball.
Right.
It doesn't.
This is Brady Anderson hitting 50, and you go, what?
right?
What?
Yeah, and I think that that's something that golf will eventually have to confront, especially now that he's a U.S. Open champion, now that he's a major winner, and frankly, now that he's a threat every time to win, he tees it up. So, yeah, the PGA Tour's testing program, not that it's bad, but it's not very transparent. And just as a good example, by rule, they don't have to tell anybody if someone pops for a recreational drug.
Right.
If you get caught smoking weed or doing cocaine, they don't have to tell anybody. But if they pop doing a performance enhancing drug, then they do have to tell somebody. But how often do they test? When they test you, and you're also dealing with a guy in Bryson who, I mean, yeah, he may not be a genius, but he does think. And so if you're trying to come up with something, I mean, I don't want to put that out there on Bryson, but the whispers are going to come. They've come before. They're going to come again, and they're going to get louder because you're a major winner now. So I don't know how they test him more frequently without making it so obvious that they're targeting him. But I feel like there's going to be a lot more of this conversation.
Ryan, I will say I love the final group yesterday for a couple of reasons. First off, a couple of young guys, all right, which is always nice to see in any sport. But secondly, two very unique golfers. We've just spent, time talking about DeChambeau, but, I mean, Wolf's swing. I mean, it's Jim Furyk looks at it and goes, dude, you got to work on that. I mean, and the fact that he's this good, I'm at 21, it's to me, the individualism of the two of them on display in the final group yesterday, where so many of the golfers are cardboard cutouts and their swings are almost identical. I just marveled watching the two of them going, man, there's not a swing coach around that would teach either one of these guys how they're doing it.
Yeah, they're both very much self-made. I mean, Matt Wolf works with a guy named George Gankis, who is a kind of free spirit of golf instruction, and let Matt kind of swing his swing because of his baseball connected past. And I mean, Matt Wolf could have won this tournament yesterday.
Yeah.
Kind of got steamrolled a little bit on the back nine and never really recovered. And Bryson is a little bit more steely. But in two majors, Matt Wolf has finished T4 at second at 21.
Right.
So it portends some good things are going to happen for the guy eventually. I think he learned a lot from yesterday. I think he learned a lot from losing to Bryson earlier in the summer in Detroit, the Rocket Mortgage Classic. Got blown away in a similar fashion. Started out with the lead, got caught, didn't know what to do, couldn't answer, and then just got passed. He got that same thing happen to him yesterday. But he's going to figure it out. He's a smart kid. He was a little whiny after losing. I think he was upset about some breaks and things like that. And you could tell by the last 3 or 4 holes, he was almost completely out of gas. But he's going to figure out how to do this. And I do think it's really cool that, I mean, Wolf is basically a less optimized version of Bryson in terms of just banging as far as you can. But if you were going to try to root for one of the two players, I think pretty much every person that you surveyed other than Bryson was going to root for Matt Wolf. So I think he's likable. He shows emotion. He cares. I think that's going to be he's a superstar in the making, absolutely, in golf.
There's no doubt there. And I mean, the game is in a great spot. When you look at DeChambeau, Wolf, Schauffele, Finau, and Justin Thomas all in the top 10. I mean, these are all young guys that are getting it done, not to mention you still got DJ that's playing at a high level. Rory had a nice tournament, which was really nice to see for a change. How much would the next Open at Winged Foot be different? Because it surely sounded as if the superintendent at Winged Foot took the USGA out behind the barn rather, after Thursday and scolded them and may have hit them a few times because he was embarrassed that 20 guys shot under par on Thursday. When we get the next Open at Winged Foot, we're never going to have a Thursday like that again, are we, Ryan?
I can't imagine. That drew a lot of criticism, and not just from the membership at Winged Foot that wants like 20 over par to win the U.S. Open. But a lot of golf fans wanted to see, and myself included. I mean, this is billed as Winged Foot. You're expecting pain and suffering from the first shot, and to have that kind of first round, and even for Matthew Wolf to be able to shoot 65, hitting just a couple fairways. I think that in part goes to show you how good the technology has come in just 14 years, where guys' games have changed, the equipment is better. There's really not a whole lot the USGA can do to stop people from just pummeling a golf course if they're long and hitting wedges. There's not much they can do. They can't make a golf course long enough. So that's part of the reality, is that by the time we get to 8 years from now, or whenever the next time Winged Foot hosts, there's not going to be a whole lot different unless the USGA says we need to kind of draw a line in the sand. We are going to roll back equipment. We're going to create limits on how much the ball can spin, how far it can go, how long your driver can be, all these kinds of measures they could take and if basically avoided for 20 years. Unless they do that, I don't think there's anything that they can do to stop guys from, if they're playing well enough, putting up the numbers that we saw this week.
Ryan, Jordan Spieth looks lost. He's not long enough to compete with the top players. He's certainly never been straight enough. And it doesn't seem as if he is content to play to his strengths. I mean, I think, I said when he was on his roll, he reminds me of Justin Leonard. Leonard had 2 really good years, and then really his game didn't transcend long term. He was always a good putter, but, he was just too short. And I kind of wonder, does Spieth need to realize, despite having 4 majors, really now who he is, that he's a crooked Kevin Kisner, and he needs to figure it out. He seems right now lost on the PGA Tour in 2020.
He's been in the wilderness for the better part of 3 years, almost 4 years.
Yeah, since he won the British. I mean, he hasn't done much.
Yeah, that's the last win. And honestly, that came out of nowhere. The season, throughout 2017 wasn't even very good. So that's a great analog to Justin Leonard. I think that, and he talked a little bit about this after missing the cut, he's just trying to go out there and play his game. The problem is his game isn't competitive right now. If you hit 49% of fairways week to week on the PGA Tour, what in the world are you doing with 25-yard fairways at Winged Foot? You have a prayer, especially hitting at only 290, 295 off the tee when Bryson is 80, 90, 100 yards past you. Like, that's kind of happens when I play a 25 handicap. That should not happen on the PGA Tour to a guy who's won multiple major championships. And so I think Jordan's kind of in this place where he has to decide whether he wants to continue to be Jordan Spieth, the guy that was the best golfer in the world in 2015 and part of 2016, or does he need to revolutionize himself, reinvent himself for the remainder of his career, change his swing, break it down, get faster, go farther, but still be the same guy that makes a whole lot of putts. I think a lot of people kind of knew this day has been coming because you could see how he won tournaments in his run, and a lot of it was just incredible putting from mid-range that everyone knew just could not be sustainable in the long term. And that's where we are now. So I guess you just have to make the tough decision if you're Spieth. Do you cut the cord, abandon the way that you've played golf that got you this far to set you up for hopefully a longer, meaningful career where you can still have a chance to win majors? That's a hard decision to make.
More strange, Ryan, watching the U.S. Open in September or watching Masters commercials during the U.S. Open in September?
The U.S. Open, I played my club championship over the weekend, and it kind of felt a lot, not conditions-wise like the U.S. Open, but just kind of the weather. It made some sense, I guess, and it did dry out in the end. They got one guy under par. So they got what they wanted from a U.S. Open in the fall, even though we only had 144 players. It was all exempt, and it was really hard to finish every day. But having the Masters in November, I don't know what it's going to look like. I know they're going to try to overseed because they want to do that, and it wants to look as green as it normally does in April. So I think the Masters is going to look like the Masters come November. But a commercial telling me to watch the Masters in November, that's really, really weird.
Ryan, thanks so much for your time. We hear you got your hands full.
The
All
dog
the
That's
best.
the dog that wants to go
No,
out?
I think it's a baby.
No, that's
isn't
a
it?
baby.
She just came by and said she wants to go outside.
All right.
All right. Well,
did you win the club championship? That's all people are going to ask, and I'm going to have to text you later. So,
oh man, no. I played against the number 1 or number 11 ranked junior amateur in the world. A guy who played multiple USAMs, guys who were playing D1 golf, and a former pro golfer. So I really did not stand a chance.
that's a tough field. That's a U.S. Open field at your club.
Yeah, really. My goodness. Making the quarters seems like a good run. Ryan, thanks. All the best.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Ryan Ballinger, host of the 19th Hole Golf Show and also part of golfnewsnet.com, golfnewsnet.com. Follow Ryan on Twitter at Ryan Ballinger, Ballengee. Ryan Ballinger joining us here on Miller and Moulton. Today was the day when. Coming up next. You like my poll question?
I do.
More unpopular win, Patrick Reed at the Masters, Bryson DeChambeau at the U.S. Open. It's tough to have a really good golf poll question during football season. But that's my nomination for our poll question.
And it's up.
Hot damn.
That's how I work, David. That's how I work.
It
Miller
is how
and
you
Moulton.
roll.
Today was the day when is next. Thanks for listening. MillerandMoulton.com or twitch.tv/Miller and Moulton.
Hey, we get a lot wrong on this show. I got Jordan Spieth right. That one I saw coming. Saw that one coming. He's short, and he's making a bunch of 25 footers. Yep, he's short, and he's making a bunch of 25 footers, and that can't last. A crooked Kevin Kisner. I even thought of that on the fly. That's not a good. It doesn't seem like a good formula.
At only $3, the new hot cake breakfast sandwich is almost too good to be true. Wake up your
Right now, your life depended on it to hit a fairway, and you had to bet between Spieth or Mickelson. And I love Phil, but my God. Mark, you had to bet to hit a fairway between Spieth or Mickelson.
I'll bet Phil, because if it's a bet, I'm going to put my money on Phil. Did you catch what he said in the presser?
When?
I was the open presser, I think Wednesday or last week after I don't know. He's doing a press because I heard it on the golf coverage. I was driving around Thursday listening to the U.S. Open, and Thursday or Friday I heard it, and they said, Phil, it was Thursday because Phil's hitting it all over the place already. And they
sure, he shoots 79, right?
You got to love Phil. He's getting interviewed, and he was 70-1, and they asked him what it felt like to be 71 in the Open. He says, I don't really understand what we're talking about. This gambling, you'll have to explain it.
I swear to God, if Mickelson ever decides to do the booth,
they got it.
He'll be the best.
To get all of those guys out and just let Phil do it.
He will be the best announcer in television history. He really will. He'll be better than Cosell. He'll be better than Madden. Okay, I swear to God, if Phil Unleashed, the network who hires him and says basically, say whatever you want. We got your back. Talk about whatever you want. Yeah, Johnny Mac, some guy bet, a bunch of money on Phil to win, and Phil saw it and tweeted out he said, hopefully for the both of us, I've got a 3-shot lead heading to 18.
That he owns social media.
Sanchez and Arantxa Sanchez, the former world champ with 14 Grand Slam titles. You won't get this.
Here's the funny thing about both Mickelson and Spieth. They can both win at Augusta. I don't know if they can win anywhere else in the world. They can both win at Augusta.
Trainer and founder of Hydro Athletics, Stephen DeBeatty, will coach you
because you can hit it all over the lot there.
Intensity, low impact, results driven hydro athletic training using the
and they can get up and down. And they know the greens. Speed's a good putter. Phil's a streaky putter. Not as good as he used to be.
Step up your game and enroll now. Find Stephen Davidi Hydro Athletics on Instagram.
It'll do a number on both of them mentally if they don't compete at the Masters. They'll head into the offseason and they'll both be a wreck.
Well, different. Phil's wreck will be more, I might be done competing with the young guys. And Spieth may be, I can't compete with my peers anymore.
Right.
It's a little different. But
Right.
I agree with your premise.
I mean, has always been obsessed with distance, and I wonder if at this point Phil actually just needs to concede and dial it back a little bit. That, hey, even when you're cranking it, you're what? Top 30% now instead of being top 3 to 5%. I mean, if Phil cranks it now, he's what? Top third of the field in terms of distance. So he's got to figure out a way to play in the short grass, I
I'm going
think.
to try to give y'all a little treat if you have not seen it yet during our next break. The gal who works for the Grand Rapids television station has been doing those Big Ten parodies, did the call of the conference coming back. It's gold again. She's so good. I want to get her on the show.
9 minutes before the top of the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Very lively commercial break there. It's one of the advantages you get when you subscribe to Miller and Moulton on twitch.tv. And if you're an Amazon Prime customer, you already get a free subscription. So make the Miller and Moulton channel your choice. Done. It's good for both of us.
It really and truly is. Now it is time for
Miller and Moulton's Today Was the Day When, giving you the history of today's date so you're a beacon of useless knowledge around the office. Useless, but a lot of fun to talk about. This is Today Was the Day When, Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
not a lot today, but really juicy nuggets, David. I think you'll like damn near all of these. 1955, in his last undefeated world heavyweight fight, Rocky Marciano KO's light heavyweight Archie Moore in the 9th round. Where else but the boxing mecca that we know as Yankee Stadium?
There you go.
And it was.
Yep.
It is astonishing having done this segment. And I don't put all the boxing stuff from the 30s and 40s in there, but it's amazing how many title fights were held at Yankee Stadium.
I think the last one I can recall that was a big fight, Mark, Ali Norton 3 was at Yankee Stadium. And Norton got robbed, won the fight, and they gave Ali the 15-round decision.
Happened a few times.
Yeah. Once he knocked out Foreman, man. Okay, that's why it was a shock when Leon beat him and they gave him the decision. They went, whoa, wait, hold on a second. What are you talking about? You gave Leon the decision. You didn't give it to Norton. You didn't give it to Lyle. You didn't give it to Weaver. You give it to Leon?
Right. 50 years ago tonight, David, Monday Night Football premiered on ABC.
Jets in Cleveland against the Browns.
31-21 Browns.
Name it through a pick six late. Great slow motion shot of Joe head down, hands on his hips. All right. Because he didn't move and nobody hit him, and the guy ran by him for a touchdown. By the way, play-by-play voice of the
Keith
first.
Jackson.
There you go.
Wasn't going to let you get that one in on me, David. I knew that one, damn it. 1981, your guy, David. Steve Carlton strikes out the National League record, 3,118th batter. It was Andre Dawson.
Oh, look at that.
I just
Two
like
Hall
to
of
watch
Famers.
those two go at it, right? I mean, that right there for, if you're my age and older, that should have been talked about in the baseball hour. That's so juicy, David.
Well, and you know what's really juicy about it is that that's the strike season, and a week or two later, they're meeting in the playoffs because the Phillies won the first half and the Expos won the second half, and they met in the playoffs. Expos' only playoff appearance.
The other Spinks, Michael, today in 1985, beats Larry Holmes in 15 to become the heavyweight champion of the world.
And he did, too. All right. I mean, he clearly won the fight. All right. Now, when they fought the second time, Spinks got the decision, and I think Holmes got robbed, but Spinks clearly beat him the first time.
1986, Jets and Dolphins in overtime. Your final score, 51-45, setting a record with 884 passing yards. Do you think the Dolphins were a little ahead of their time?
Ken O'Brien to Al Toon, I believe, for the game winner. Or no, Ken O'Brien to Wesley Walker? One of them.
Really? You should have just stopped at the first one because there's not a damn person listening that cares, one, and two, would be able to challenge you on that. Right? I mean, you had it. Just stay Costanza there. Just stay with it, David. You had it.
I'm second guessing myself.
And in 2004, Green Day released their album American Idiot. If you were born today, you share your birthday with some pretty cool people. The late Leonard Cohen, born today in 1934. Don Felder, who played guitar with the Eagles, was born in Gainesville today in 1947. Author Stephen King, born that same day. Artist Gilmore, our friend in Jacksonville.
Yes.
The big man, born today in 1948. Happy 72nd to Artis. Bill Murray's 70, gang. Pick the movie, pick the skit, pick the whatever. Spend a little time watching him singing Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars.
I don't think the heavy stuff's going to come for quite some time.
Rick Mahorn is 62. Cecil Fielder is 57. The newly available Faith Hill is 53.
Oh, really? Finally?
Apparently they're splitting up. I read that. I thought I read that over the weekend. And
really?
I don't do gossip, but I've started going to the New York Post app. You've sold me on the Post app. And when you're on doing sports, you can't help but see some other stuff. And I'm pretty sure I saw that Faith's on the market.
15 years I've been standing at the counter, and Faith Hill and Tim McGraw are getting divorced. It's finally happening?
Maybe not. David, I don't do gossip, but I thought I saw that they're finally done. That's why I went with the newly available.
Gotcha.
And finally, Liam Gallagher from Oasis, the really kind, wonderful guy who thinks Patrick Reed and Bryson DeChambeau are just charming. He is 48 years old. And that, David, is today was the day on this September the 22nd. We do have ourselves a poll question.
Oh, wait, hold on. It's September 21st,
Oh, what did I say, 22nd?
You did. I just wanted to make sure you didn't read today was the day September 22nd, because then we don't have a segment tomorrow.
I'm looking right at the 21st, and I think I just skipped the 1 and the 2 of 2020.
The last day of summer, Mark.
Certainly feels like it around here.
Right. We dropped to 89 degrees tomorrow. It's fall after all.
Yeah. Our poll question is, what golf major win was more unpopular? Bryson D in the Open or Patrick Reed in the Masters? And it looks right now like you hate Patrick Reed more than you hate Bryson DeChambeau.
Wow, it's good for DeChambeau there. See, wanted to make him feel better since everybody was hating on him yesterday.
Jeff Cameron in 30 minutes right here on Miller and Moulton.
That time again to hear from our good friend Dave Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples. And we love talking to Dave. We know that when he calls, something special's going on at Floor Meisters. Dave, sounds like you have a lot of that very popular Core-Tech that everyone is looking for and wants in their home.
Yes, we do, and we've got about 6 or 7 truckloads coming to beat the tariff increase. And
I love that. When I know you can find all this stuff, but Jim Wyatt, who covers the Titans that I follow, and what's his name? Our Eagles guy,
John
McMullen. Every morning on Monday, I get the snap counts of Eagles and Titans players. I just kind of always know that they're going to have it for me. They do a great job of getting the percent, every player snap count out early on the Twitter feed. I'm like, oh, good. I don't even have to look for it.
Twitch chat room says the Eagles documentary is awesome. Mark, you must have seen it.
Oh, yeah, I've seen it a couple times. I need to watch it. It's been so long, I need to watch it again. It's that good.
Johnny Mac, if it's a music documentary, if Mark has missed it, that's the upset of the day.
The Go-Go's one is really good. It's on Showtime right now.
For his birthday, Rick Mahorn beat up a couple of bulls. Here's a question. Rick Mahorn, everybody talks about his bad boy Pistons days. Hell, you got to go back to him and Jeff Rulin on the same Washington Bullets teams together right before he went to the Pistons. I mean, you try playing the mid-'80s Bullets. They'd go out in the first, second round of the playoffs every year, but beat the hell out of the team who'd beat them.
Here, you want to be entertained for a second? This is, I think, it's only 44
Get
seconds.
this working. Yep, you just is everybody there? Can everybody hear me okay? Wait, Michigan is in charge of this? Didn't you guys have like 2 conference board? Is everybody
Whoops,
there?
I think this is her. Hang on. This might be this is her.
So she's doing the Cameron Magruder thing.
Yeah, but it's.
Big Ten has officially decided with this. Okay, everyone, after a lot of time and consideration, the Big Ten has officially decided with this up. We're having football, guys. We're having football. We're having a season. Okay, I hadn't even said it yet, but okay, yes, we're having a season. But listen, there are certain things we can and cannot. Big Ten is back, baby. Hey, party at our place, 10 p.m. Bring friends. Bring friends. Okay. Hey, go green. Go. See that? Nope. That qualifies as what we're not going to do. Hi. Yeah, that 2020 undefeated season banner that we canceled, we'd like to reorder that. You're letting them get a banner. That's your concern right now. All this is going on. That's your concern. You know, statistically, this is a really bad idea. Statistically, suck. So now what is Nebraska's problem? Oh, they're so mad at you. Hey, I know. We should prank call the Pac-12. Nope. No. Tomorrow, yes. Tomorrow would be great. Get it? Because they're not playing. I don't feel very good. Okay, everyone, after a lot of time and consideration, the Big Ten has officially.
She's great. It's so good. I mean, she has Michigan State just so dialed in. I think she had to go there because she has them as a drunk mess every time.
Who is Nebraska mad at?
The Big Ten. They're still mad at you.
You did.
So good.
And Moulton, he is the gentleman who's got a few days off, and he entered the garage, and he has not left. He is rebuilding a tranny. He is mixing and matching sets of golf clubs to come up with just the right 14.
Southwest.
Oh, she's a Grand Valley State alum.
Radio, broadcasting live from the Kobe Cool
So I just think that's just so funny.
It's always cool and comfortable.
Oh, I like it.
It's up to you now. It's up to you.
I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Couple minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? We are Miller and Moulton. This is Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. We stream this show at millerandmoulton.com. We are broadcasting live every morning on twitch.tv, the Miller and Moulton channel. In fact, we give you a bonus hour from 9 to 10 a.m. commercial free on Twitch. Chime in. We would appreciate it. You can vote in our poll question of the day at millerandmoulton.com. Which major championship win was more unpopular? Patrick Reed at the Masters in 2018 or Bryson DeChambeau yesterday at the U.S. Open? The big fella winning by 6, shooting a spectacular final round, 67. He was just tremendous yesterday. Just tremendous. Do not want to take away at all as to how well he played. He was awesome. Awesome. Takes forever. Mike Hargrove says he takes a long time. But
it's a good pull, David. It really is the original human rain delay.
Exactly. But he takes forever. And I could see where, by the way, if you're his playing partner, you could get a little annoyed. And Mark, in all honesty, and we're going to talk plenty of football coming up, but I do want to say this. You could see between his length, which is intimidating, and the amount of time that he takes, which is annoying, that he's a difficult person to play with. I mean, he intimidates you off the tee, and then he drives you bat blank crazy, in which a few times around you just want to yell, "Put the ball already!"
Look, it's not just that. It's bringing a rules official over on every single thing that there is. That would drive. I mean, I'll go back to the fire ants. As I mentioned, I've got a friend of mine who plays on the Latin Tour. Young kid, great young man. Really want him to make it because he's a better guy than he is golfer. But he's playing in an event a couple weeks ago because they've had a few weeks off. And his playing partner calls him over and he says, hey, not to be a Bryson, but I think I've got fire ants by my ball. And Matt looks over at the kid he's playing with, and the ball is swarmed by fire ants. He's like, no, you're not being Bryson. Move it. And he's still nervous, he brings the rules official over and again says to the rules officials, I don't mean to be Bryson here, but, and the rule, like, come on, those are fire ants, move it. That one moment to me, I guess being a Floridian who has had fire ants crawl up his leg and you freak out. There were 2 ants there. That and that alone is the move that ended me and Bryson, because he seemingly is trying to always take advantage of the rules in every aspect. And David, you know this as someone who at another time in your life played competitive golf. There are some golf rules out there that you can take advantage of. There just are.
Well,
casual water is the one that all of us can go, I can squish my fat you-know-what down hard enough to get water to come out of this ground. But there are some rules that that you probably shouldn't be able to use. And it seems as if he is trying every time to get the rules in his favor when he knows flat out that he can't. That's bothersome to me. You know, Patrick Reed's different. He just blatantly cheats. He doesn't give a damn about the rules. He's going to move his ball. He was doing it again this week where he's batting down the. I mean, he cheats.
Wait. This is a bunker? What? I can't ground my club? 479-5551, 479-5551, the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. All right. Brady and the Bucks looked good yesterday. Got off to a good start, and then when they had to, they put Carolina away. If you're a Bucks fan, listen, it's week 2. They didn't have a preseason. They're going to get better. The defense at times got to tighten some things up, but listen, Carolina came to town. You beat them by 14, and let's move on.
And I don't know if Ronald Jones plays much more the rest of the year, because after that fumble and the expletive tirade that Tom unleashed on the bench, I don't think you're going to see a lot of. I think you're going to see a lot of Shady McCoy, and you're going to see a lot of Leonard Fournette from this point forward.
Yeah, but you know what?
A rough second half.
Listen, all I know is that listening to a lot of quarterback analysts over the years, they all say the responsibility, is on the quarterback to get the handoff to the belly. Everything after that is on the running back. When I saw it and the handoff hit him on the forearm, from everything I've heard quarterback analysts say for 30 years of watching football, they all say the handoff is on the quarterback. What the running back does with it from there is up to him. So I thought, Brady frustrated the turnover. I thought he was blaming the wrong guy.
Okay.
Personally.
I just didn't see a lot of Ronald Jones after that.
No. I agree. I mean, if Tom goes to the offensive coordinator and gets him off the field, you're going to get him off the field. But everything I've been told about the handoff is on the quarterback. The carry is on the running back.
And David, I'm sure you're right, because you do stand next to a Hall of Famer and another guy who played the position his whole career. However, the other point you made to me is the best one. If he went to the OC and said, get him out of
here, your day's over. I don't know what to tell you. It's just, listen, I don't know if this is fair or not, and if this is trying to look at a glass as half full, but if you look at where the Jets are in year 2 under Adam Gase, and you look at where the Dolphins are in year 2 under Brian Flores, and when you look at where the Dolphins are against the Patriots and the Bills the first 2 weeks of this season, compared to remember where the Dolphins were the first month last year when they were an expansion team. They were so bad. All right. It's tough to do the moral victory thing, but if you're a Dolph fan, aren't you seeing progress here? You're seeing where we're still not a good team, but now we're to the point where we're competitive. And a year ago at this time, we were not.
And I don't know at the end of the season where the Patriots defense will be, because I get they lost a lot of personnel, but I think we all can agree that Bill knows how to coach, and he had an idea of what Miami was going to look like, and he was very prepared for it. We all know that the Bills defense is a top 5 defense in the league. So from that standpoint, Miami's had to play against two teams that, one, know them really well, and two, their offense is not that good right now. And remember, the guy playing quarterback isn't going to be playing quarterback much longer. I will say the biggest news out of yesterday to me from the Miami Dolphins standpoint is how good Justin Herbert looked for the Los Angeles Chargers. I mean, that was, Pat on the show Friday was, I know on Monday you're going to be asking me about Tua, and I'm not. But when I see Justin Herbert get into the game because Taylor was diagnosed with a rib problem 45 minutes before the game and they pulled him, tells me that Justin Herbert wasn't supposed to start. He wasn't preparing the week as the starter, and he came in and he did a nice job.
He did. I mean, threw one pick and, took one sack where he clearly should have gotten rid of the ball. But, had only a few moments in which you thought to yourself, wow, this guy's a rookie. No, he looked pretty good. Okay? He looked pretty good. He did. And I was not a Herbert guy coming out, and it was just one game. And the Chiefs are not good defensively by any stretch of the imagination. Okay, but he looked like a competent pro quarterback yesterday, which, week 2 of your first season,
but now we got Burrow playing, looking good. We had Herbert play, look good. Tua's not playing. That will put pressure on Miami. Still doesn't change what I want to do if I'm running the team, but it will add some increased pressure as losses come.
Listen, the Bears are 2-0. They have beaten 2 of the teams who drafted in the top 5 of last year's draft, and they've beaten them both by 4 points. It would concern me if I'm a Bears fan that after the initial drive and then a quick turnover to get a field goal, you scored 7 points in the final 3.5 quarters against a below-average defense. All right, yet that you had to rely on your defense to beat the Giants. Okay, but still, they're 2-0. Hey, we said the soft part of the Bears schedule was the first 4 weeks. And so far, they're 2-0. Can you ask for more than that? Right now, worst team in the league, the Jets. I mean, is there any debate on this, by the way? Is there anybody else that is even in their area code?
Well, I could argue that I think Carolina's close. I mean,
today. Not will be. You think Carolina has looked that bad their first 2 weeks?
David, they played against a Raiders team that I don't think is very good, and we'll find that out tonight. No, I think they're clearly the worst, but I think Carolina's within the area code.
Although I'll tell you what, we don't think they're this bad, but you know who has not looked good the first 2 weeks of the season? How about the Minnesota Vikings? Oof.
Hey, how about, no offense, how about the Detroit Lions? Okay.
Well, but they're
I know you like Matthew Stafford a lot, and I know DeAndre Swift dropped that ball, but Stafford threw a pick before that helped cost them the game. They're awful. Okay, I mean, the Detroit Lions, I'm going to scratch my previous answer. It's not Carolina. It's the Detroit Lions.
Okay.
They blew a game against Mitchell Trubisky, and they were up 14-3 and were unable to score the rest of the game.
Got out, scored 39-7 the rest of the way at Lambeau. Somebody brought this fact up in a tweet last night in which they said, I think it was Warren Sharp, maybe it was Dan Orlovsky, that tweeted out that there were a couple of playoff teams from a year ago who traded away their number 1 wide receivers. And the teams they traded them to are 2-0. And the teams that traded away the wide receivers are 0-2. We're talking about Houston and Minnesota, who traded away, obviously, Hopkins and Diggs. Now, granted, Diggs went to the Bills, who did win 10 games last year. But his point is, when you have a number 1 wide receiver, not a number 2, not a number 3, when you have a number 1 wide receiver, you do not let them get away. They make a really big difference. Thought it was an interesting point.
And Hopkins had like 68 catches in the first game and 8 more for 68 and a touchdown yesterday.
Right, that's an off day, by the way.
That's
for DeAndre Hopkins. Okay, the rest, if he has 8 catches for like 96 yards and a touchdown, that will be considered average for him in that offense going forward. What do you think of Big Ben? Think he's back? Does he look like Big Ben to you?
Looked pretty good. I'll tell you what I do like is their number 2 and 3 receivers. The rookie they have can play, and that Deontay Johnson that they got last year can play. I mean, they had Smith-Schuster, who didn't have a lot of help last year, and they didn't have a quarterback. It now looks like they've got competent receivers. Connor had a nice run. I'm with you, David. I just don't know running back-wise. Denver's a good defense, but they don't have – I don't know if Connor or Snell are good enough. And I don't even know if the collective effort of the two of them are good enough, if you know what I mean. Running back by committee, I don't know how good their committee is.
Well, I'm with you. I think they have a bunch of second and third string running backs. I really do. I don't think they have a guy. I think all the rest of them are guys who should be part of the rotation.
Yeah, like Freeman's trying out for the Giants today. If I was Pittsburgh, I might want a guy that I can trust to catch the football out of the backfield, because that seems to be important. But we'll see. Their defense is solid. The receivers are good. I don't know if Ben's back yet, but I like his number 2 and 3 guys, and that makes him a lot better when you have players to throw the football to. Ebron, if he doesn't drop it, he's a great tight end, but he gets the drops.
Mark, you mentioned wide receivers with Steelers. There is not an organization that does a better job of drafting, because they very rarely draft a receiver in the first round. All their receivers are second, third plus round picks. And there is no better receivers coach in football than the Steelers one. They develop wide receivers better than any other organization. They really do, in my estimation. Boy, Baltimore's just picked up where they left off, haven't they?
Yeah. By the way, to your point back on the Vikings quickly, because I mentioned the Lions, just looking at point totals, the Lions have scored 44 and given up 69. The Vikings have scored 45 and given up 71. I don't know how different those two teams are right now, David.
Kirk Cousins, 113 yards passing with 3 interceptions yesterday.
And the only reason they scored as many points as they did is they were playing 4 touchdowns down and made some sort of a comeback against Green Bay. But we never thought at any point that they were going to win. I mean, I never thought at any point they were coming back in that game.
Did you agree with Romo? Overtime, Chargers-Chiefs. Chargers have 4th and 1 on their own 34. Anthony Lynn sends out the punter, and Romo is like, I don't know if you get the ball back. You're punting to Mahomes. And Nance said, especially since they've been on their heels for the last quarter and a half, and that they both kind of said, this defense might be worn out. They've been on the field a lot here for the last hour. All right. If you were Anthony Lynn, overtime, 4th and 1 in your own 34, you going for it?
Yes. Yes.
I would have as well.
Because the other side of that is you're not asking Mahomes, you're not telling Mahomes if you punt it, he's got to score 6. All he's got to do is get the ball to the 40-yard line and the game's over.
Right, especially with their kicker. Right. Now, I will say it was a terrific punt, and he pinned him really deep, and he still forced him to drive about 55 yards.
And they did.
And they did. I mean, they're pretty good. Chiefs-Ravens, Monday night, by the way. This is the second year in a row that ESPN's arguably getting the best game of the year on paper anyway. I mean, Chiefs-Ravens, Monday night on the 4-letter network. That should do pretty well.
I mean, I've got to tell you, for the final 3 games, we get stuck here. I'll tell you right now, because the best 425 game we're not going to see locally next week. It's Dallas and Seattle. Be prepared now.
Oh, wait, why aren't you going to see it?
Because the Bucs are at Denver.
Oh, that's right. At the same time. That's
so
right.
we won't see you, David, unless we have the package.
Right.
Just be prepared that locally you're going to get Bucs Denver at 425, not Dallas Seattle. But for the rest of the world, Cowboys Seahawks, Packers Saints, Monday night Chiefs Ravens.
Yeah.
If there were ever a week to play golf on a Sunday or do something with your family, you can get away with it. I mean, I know your team could be playing at 1. I get it. But man, oh man, outside of Texans Steelers, there are not a lot of juicy 1 o'clock games. And there sure as hell are really good games from then on. Don't worry, though. David gets Miami versus Jacksonville on Thursday night.
I do, baby.
Hello, NFL Network. Hello.
Come on now. It's just a Jacksonville, Baton Rouge, Seattle weekend. All right, that's all. Listen, we said it. We're wrong about a lot. And when you do sports talk radio, you got to say a lot of things. But we're both Cam guys. And we both did say, is there something we should know? He's 31 years old. Is he broken down? Because otherwise,
hello.
Yeah, he's Cam
I
Newton.
mean,
What are we
Bears
missing?
fan right now, Nick Foles, Mitchell Trubisky, or Cam Newton? Who you want?
I mean, just he looks pretty good, doesn't he? And Patriot fan, all right? How you doing with this? You all in? Or are you slowly, working your way towards this? How's it, you starting to smile a little bit? Okay, you starting to dress a little differently? Are you? Wear your hair a little differently? Okay, pretend to do the Superman? Okay, just, as if you're stretching.
Boston, they're struggling with this. It's going to take a couple more weeks.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying, are you working?
It.
Right. Are you working on this in private, pretending as if you're just stretching and rolling your shoulders when really you're practicing your Superman? I mean, that's all. Right. Oh, just stretching. Right. That's all. How's it working? It just, you're like, maybe I don't need to see Jared Stidham for a while, like ever. Right. Right. You're okay with this. I know you lost on the 1 yard line yesterday, but guess what? They're fun, aren't they? They're fun. All right.
I'm telling you right now, anybody else really looking for it, even if you don't have a dog in the fight, and even if you're going to be rooting for the Bills, anybody out there looking forward to Bills, Patriots? Because I sure am. I really am.
Absolutely.
I mean, that is the one thing. The Patriots get 5 primetime games between Thursday and Sunday night and Monday.
Right.
With Jared Stidham, I don't know if it's something I'm getting excited to watch.
No.
Unless all of a sudden he's way better than we thought, and we're seeing like how Garoppolo was before he got hurt when Brady was suspended 4 games. But right now, with Cam Newton, they took Seattle to the last play.
Yeah.
David and I both think Seattle's going to the Super Bowl. Still a tough place to play, whether or not they have fans there or not.
I will say, whatever Seattle's doing defensively right now, it's not working. I know they're 2-0, but the Falcons had over 500 yards of offense, and it's not like the Patriots had trouble moving the ball last night. I mean, so Jamal Adams is only one guy, and most of the other guys on the field not making a lot of plays. I can tell you that. Mark, they need a pass rusher desperately, and they're tough to find during a season. But Seattle needs to try desperately to get their hands on one. I thought they needed to bring Clowney back, but they are 2-0. Saints Raiders tonight. One of them's going to get to 2-0. Saints a 5.5-point road favorite. Favorites, just so you know, ladies and gentlemen, are 14-1 so far this week. Only the Eagles, a 1-point favorite at home over the Rams, who lost. That's it. Favorites are 14-1, and for the record, Mark Miller is 15-0. Picking NFL games so far this weekend, and he is riding tonight.
The New Orleans Saints.
There you go.
You've got the Vegas Raiders.
I do.
My only problem with this 15-0 is that, unfortunately, a backdoor cover cost me a 2-3 against the number. That would be the Bills. I also had just a lousy day in college, and you knew that was coming. At least I did personally. When you think Oklahoma State laying 22 against Tulsa, not only did right off the bat did Herb Street, like 4 seconds into the show, say he thinks Tulsa's going to give him a game, which had me a bit nervous. But then on the first drive, the Oklahoma State quarterback is injured and goes out of the game. And I went, ooh, well, that's not good.
No, it's tough to cover with a backup quarterback.
And he was terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, he was clearly the backup. Kid had no clue. I will say that Tulsa team, and there's some good receivers for Oklahoma State. I don't know how good Tulsa is. They're D-backs, and they talked about it the whole game. They were big. They played great the whole game. It was pretty fun to watch. Tulsa almost pulled that one out. David went 1-3 against the number because Baylor and Houston was canceled. Correct. His only win was Arizona, not David's, but Miller and Moulton's Arizona Cardinals. The 2-0 Cardinals that both of us told you before the year we're going to go to the playoffs. That was his win. He lost on the Eagles game. He lost on Duke, and he lost the Louisville-Miami game. I had the Bills lose. I had the Bills and lost. App State, Oklahoma State won with Tampa Bay and UCF. Lee Sterling had a 3-2 week, including giving you UCF -7.5. He said he had his first 45-unit play of the week. He gave it to us for free. It was UCF. Text me right after the segment to tell us that, and they won. He also, his game of the week was Jacksonville. So Lee's now 2-0 on his games of the week, and he hit his big 45-unit play on the show.
And by the way, all right, speaking of Jacksonville, the Fighting Maroons have, considering the fact that, that they were accused of, hey, it's a total teardown. They're tanking for, the Clemson quarterback. And
no, they're not.
They've
got a quarterback.
And they're playing their what off for Doug Marrone. I'll tell you that. I don't know how good they are and all that, but man, they are playing their blankety blank off for him.
Late pick cost Minshew. Threw for 339 yesterday with 3 touchdowns. He ended up with 2 interceptions. The reason they got rid of Fournette was this Robinson that they loved. He only ran for 102 yards yesterday on 16 carries. I thought they were going to come back and win that game yesterday and destroy people's survivor pools.
Well,
they did it last week, and I thought they were going to do it again.
Because they were a 9-point dog, biggest underdog on the board, even bigger than Carolina was in Tampa. And they came back from a 3-score deficit and had that game tied mid-4th quarter. Good for Jacksonville with the way they have played early this season.
David, one of the apps, it's called The Score. It's one of my favorite things for sports news. I think they do a really good job. I happened to look during the break. I just happened to flip to the news part of it for the NFL, and they have 10 key takeaways from week 2. I'm not going to bore you with all 10 because they're all relevant, but the third one simply says, Adam Gase, LOL. That's one of their takeaways from the week.
Yep.
I am going to so win my bet with Seth Everett. He is not going to survive the year. There's no way. I'm telling you right now, Adam Gase does not survive the year.
Quite the column from Steve Serby of the New York Post this morning, eviscerating Adam Gase and the product that the Jets are putting on the field. And when those columns are being written and it's not even fall yet, it makes for a very long year. Miller and Moulton. Jeff Cameron, who hosts his own show in Tallahassee, will head to our state capital. It is, after all, Florida State Miami week. And the Noles head coach is COVID. So you got that going for you, which is always nice. Since it is Bill Murray's birthday, I just thought I'd throw that in there.
Very good. I like that.
Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Hockey is back and cooler than ever from the first puck drop to the final buzzer.
I love that Jeff Cameron was arrested for something. I don't know what.
Tonight, Game 2. Between the Tampa Bay Lightning,
but I could use his mugshot as my pitcher.
I wouldn't do that.
It's playoff hockey from your body checking station. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Lord Stanley's Cup is won right here.
No matter where you're boating, with Towboat US, you're covered by the world's largest towing fleet with over 300 ports nationwide. Your local Towboat US companies in Charlotte, Lee, and Collier counties are here to help 24/7, 365 days a year. Inland, the river to Lake O, and out 75 nautical miles. And new membership pricing starts as low as $99. Call 239-945-1664 for more information, or visit towboatuscapecoral.com. With Towboat US, you're never stuck on the water.
Are you ready to take your game and athletic training to the next level? Looking to improve your speed, posture, endurance, conditioning, and mental training for tennis or any sport? Reach your star potential at Academia Sanchez Casal, Florida, and Naples. Operated by tennis superstars. Olympic silver medalist Emilio Sanchez and Arantxa Sanchez, the former world champ with 14 Grand Slam titles. You won't get this level of training anywhere else. And now expanded to include highly stylized off-court hydro pool programs for ages 10 and up. World-class athletic training and founder of Hydro Athletics, Stephen DeViti, will coach you or your child through a unique program of high-intensity, low-impact, results-driven hydroathletic training using the latest in resistance technology and equipment, safely in compliance with CDC guidelines. Group or one-on-one sessions, short and long-term programs.
It is fall tomorrow. That's why I threw that in, Foot and Fan. Absolutely. That's why I threw that in. And we're with you, Spits on Sports. The Noles Canes line, not double digits. It's screaming out at you. This game's going to be closer than you think.
them.
Because don't you think that line's going to be double digits
My
by kickoff, 10.5, 11? I mean, come on. You see that line, and if you're going to bet that game, how are you betting the Noles?
But I was a little skeptical. After I called
Miami looks like they're going to score 30-something points. Do you think the Noles are going to score 20-something?
No.
I mean,
19 grand, and I thought, no way. That's how much I'm actually getting. So happy I was wrong. And now I get to drive home in my brand new Altima.
but we've seen this. I mean, even Taggart's Noles played Miami tough.
8 years old with less.
Yeah, I was with you, Spit. I was thinking 13. That's where I thought the line would be.
Drive home.
13.5. That's where I thought it was going to be.
Only at
Yep.
Naples Nissan. Full details at naplesnissan.com.
Listen, I'm thrilled for both the Canes and UCF. UCF had never beaten Georgia Tech before. And they went on the road. They hadn't played all year, and they whacked them. And there were a couple moments where Georgia Tech was in the game. But, I mean, for the most part, UCF manhandled them. And Miami went to Louisville and manhandled them. Got on them early, kept them at arm's length.
Get 20% off any residential.
They both look like nationally ranked teams. That's what you do.
888-338-TINT. 888-338-TINT. Or online and Facebook at advancedcustomwindowtinting.com.
Exactly. And God, you do the comparison score thing.
Showroom.
And what'd they score? 13 against Georgia Tech?
With more than
UCF put up
6,000
50?
shower doors
Damn
in
near.
No one has more experience and 5-star reviews.
Jeff, Mark Miller in Southwest Florida. How are you?
By readers
What?
of the News Press and Naples News for 17 consecutive years and have just been named as Lee County's manufacturer of the year. Want to see more? Go to myshower.com.
The general election is approaching, and the Collier County Supervisor of Elections Office wants to ensure
What's
that
this?
you are election ready. Citizens can visit colliervotes.com to register to vote online, check their voter registration status, and update their party affiliation.
Well, the problem for NASCAR, you had the U.S. Open on NBC, and then you had the Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals.
Visit Collier Votes.
Yeah, no kidding. Literally, I started talking. I got the call failed beat. Sorry about that. We're going on in like 15 seconds.
Election ready.
All right. Thanks, man.
All right, now we're getting somewhere. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
"29 minutes before the top of the hour. The good, the bad, and the ugly in roughly 20 minutes here on Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. He works for the Four Letter Network in Tallahassee. He is Jeff Cameron, host of, appropriately enough, The Jeff Cameron Show. And you can follow him on Twitter at the letter J Cameron Show. Jeff, top of the morning to you. How are you?
I'm great, guys. Top of the morning to you, too.
Okay. When the head coach having COVID is not the worst thing associated with the program, things are not going well, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a long year for Florida State fans. I think if they had any doubt, that realization was made crystal clear with the result of the Georgia Tech game. I think less than the result, or maybe more than the result, excuse me, it was this striking realization that the overhaul is going to take some time because there's just not enough explosiveness out there. Depth of talent's not there. And I think in addition to that, obviously you don't have a starting quarterback, not one that you trust. And anybody that you would turn to is going to be making their first ever appearance in a college football game if it's not Jordan Travis. So you don't have a lot of experience there. I think it's a long road to hoe. In many ways, if you're a Florida State fan, I think you got to look at this year as year zero, sort of a cataclysmic confluence of events where you make a change, which is always difficult because you're going to have to install a new offense and a new defense, and you got a new staff who's got to relate to the kids and tell a message, and you got to get people to buy in, and inevitably there's going to be attrition. People are going to say yay or nay to that pitch. And that's what's happened to Florida State. But in addition, then of course you have COVID strike, and while every school had to deal with that, I think the ones that had new coaching staffs that didn't get spring practice in were really dealt a devastating blow. And I think that is abundantly clear. I mean, having 3 practices and no scrimmages in the spring whatsoever set them back big time in terms of discovering who could play and who couldn't when the lights came on. And I think you saw a lot of guys in that first game revert back to sort of a losing mentality. This here we go again that Florida State's experienced for really the last 3 years. And I don't feel bad for the kids. They've been beat up a little bit. But I think if you're the staff, you've got to find a way to identify the kids that are going to be there with you when you do start to win games again as you move forward here, the next season and the year after, when things return somewhat, we hope, to normal. You got to find the guys that aren't infected right now with this here we go again mentality. So it's going to be a tough season. I don't see any way that Florida State finishes this year with a winning record. But I do think if you wipe the slate clean and decide what I'm looking for here is incremental improvement week to week and buy-in, well, then there's a reason to invest. I mean, that's what teams do when you watch transition. So hopefully, that's the mentality. If not, if people are still holding on to this delusion that Florida State's going to win 8-9 games, it's going to be brutal to watch.
Jeff, just how difficult is it for the Florida State fan, and I'm guessing you'll hear it this afternoon, when UCF, I think, just scored again on Georgia Tech, but when when the number 4 team supposedly in the state, and they're not right now, we all know that, but when UCF goes up and goat rodeos Tech, and Florida State, even the 2 block kicks and all the things they had going their way, couldn't muster up much of an offense. I mean, it doesn't just show that you're down. It kind of looks like you're way down, Jeff.
Oh, yeah. No, they've been way down. I think maybe it's just this profound realization when you see that. Now, again, I will say, I do believe that Florida State will play better. I don't know how good they'll be. Those are 2 different things. But they'll play better, I do believe, as the season goes along, because these are the weeks of practices that they didn't get. So I think you'll start to see now a team start to marginally improve each week. Now, there are certain personnel groupings that they just can't fix overnight. You got to raise the floor through recruiting, and they're also being hurt by all of this with the inability to have kids come on campus and to make visits. So it really couldn't have come at a worse time. Not that any time is a good time for a global pandemic, but I think when you're, ushering in a new regime, it's a particularly devastating time to have that hit. It does look that way. Now, I think if you're a Florida State fan, you watch that game, you said, all right, it's a 7-point game in the fourth quarter, Georgia Tech's hanging in there. But at the end of the day, you're not wrong. UCF had over 600 yards of offense and 49 points. But they run a system in which their quarterback is confident. They expect to score. They're used to humming up and down the field. Florida State has no confidence in that regard right now. I think that things start to go wrong. Everybody kind of looks around like, are we doing this again? And so, again, a lot of it is personnel, especially at quarterback. But I also think some of it is, without question, the mentality that these guys don't expect. UCF expected to go in there and score those kinds of points. They expect it every week. They probably believe they're going to do that if they face LSU, Georgia, or anybody else.
Absolutely.
I don't think goes into games now expecting to do that.
I mean, we mentioned the stat on Friday. It's now 3+ years where UCF has scored 30 or more points in every game but one, beginning with the season opener in 2017. And you're right. But Jeff, look at Miami, which, let's face it, has been a grease fire off and on for the last dozen years themselves. And last year, goodness knows, was a grease fire. Yet they find a quarterback. They get on the transfer market, they get a couple of D linemen and a kicker to fill in some holes. And voila, okay, now Miami looks like a legitimate top 15, 20 team in the country. I mean, if you're Florida State, can you see where if they can have a quarterback, Jeff, they have not had one since 2014. If they can find a quarterback and a couple of key guys, are they one good offseason away from all of a sudden looking like a representative program?
Yeah, I think they are. Actually, it's interesting. I'm not sure if James Blackman, the starting quarterback, and again, I always like to put this out there. It's a caveat, but I think people should know that James Blackman has been beset by a terrible set of circumstances. He's on his 4th OC and his 3rd head coach. He's not real good, but he's also had a tough set of circumstances, and he's a good kid. So I say all that to say this. He can't start for Florida State much longer. They cannot continue to roll him out there. It's not going to work. Whatever good was in him as a player was broken a long time ago. And you'd be better off building for your future. I say I'm not sure James Blackman was going to start. Let me circle back. Chubba Purdy came in as the top football player in the state of Arizona. His brother plays at Iowa State. He's an athletic kid. He's densely built for a freshman. He's over 200 pounds, runs a 4.4, 4.5 40. I think they're going to utilize him to really kind of bridge the gap there with what they don't have on the offensive line, which is to say move the pocket, etc. And then he broke his collarbone in their very first scrimmage, right, of the fall. So who knows? They may have been angling to go with a different quarterback and one that might very well be able to play before that happened. I can't know that for sure because COVID didn't allow us to go out to practice. But I will tell you, that is true. When you have just a mere competence at quarterback and a belief amongst those playing with and around him, you can see an elevation of a team. Derek King's doing exactly that for Miami. They were awful last year. And his athleticism and ability has certainly escalated what their capabilities are. So I think that's true. I do think Florida State is a ways off on that offensive line, though. And I don't want to say that I think getting a quarterback, whether it's in a transfer portal or if, in fact, it's one that's already on the roster that hasn't started, is going to be the stab that heals all, because that group up front isn't good, and they haven't been good for some time. Now, they saw some signs from some of the younger players that they started that I think they can build around. You have a couple of redshirt freshmen that they rolled out there who played better than any of the experienced offensive linemen they've been putting out there. So we know offensive line transformations don't happen overnight, but you better have some pieces that you can build around. I think they did find that in pass pro in the Georgia Tech game. So we'll see. I mean, they got a ways to go. One of those transfers that you're talking about would have to be, I think, a big-time offensive lineman. You need to get somebody who's, I don't know, disenfranchised with an SEC program and decides to roll on in to Florida State where you could pencil him in and suddenly you'd have a frontline guy that could really play. They're ways off there, but I do think, having a good quarterback changes the dynamic quite a bit.
How in the hell are Florida State only a 9.5-point underdog in this game? I mean, we pay attention to these line things. Is there something about this did that jump out at you, Jeff? Because it certainly did to us.
Yeah, it's the first thing I looked at this morning. I too like to jump on the lines pretty early as a sporting guy. And I'll tell you, there's only two ways that I can look at this. It's two things that I can point to. First of all, they'll note it's a rivalry game and players will play over their head. B, Miami's defense looks terrible. And I do think that was a worry going into the season. I get it. There's some dynamic athletes on that Louisville team, and that's going to be a good offense. But there were some really alarming areas of concern for Miami, in particular, I think, in that secondary. I don't know that Florida State can exploit it. I do know that having the bye week in between that Georgia Tech game and this game, I think we'll see them put together a game plan that gives them a fighting chance. I think Florida State, the one thing I will say, they're not going to win this game, but I will say defensively, I think they have a chance to be pretty darn good. I know that you would look at the Georgia Tech game and you'd see 5.8 yards per play and you'd say otherwise. That's fair, but they didn't play fast. They played like they were thinking. And if you look at the personnel isn't terrible. They don't have an elite rush in. They're average at linebacker. They're deep in the secondary. They're really good in the interior of the defensive line. If they can force Miami to have to drive the football 10, 12, 14 play drives, they got a chance to shorten the game and make it reasonably interesting. Maybe Vegas is looking at that.
And historically, there have been some bad Miami teams that have played some good Florida State teams really tough and vice versa. So I think the line is what it is because Vegas is looking at the history, not because they're looking at tape from the early part of the season. Jeff, stay safe. Be well.
You do the same. It's always a pleasure. Be well.
Jeff, thank you very much. All the best to Jeff Cameron, afternoons, 97.9 ESPN in Tallahassee. Follow him on Twitter, the letter J, Cameron Show, the letter J, Cameron Show. Jeff Cameron joining us here on Miller and Moulton. It is Canes Knowles week. We've got the game for you. We have a nice Saturday of college football. We got the Notre Dame game early. I'm at 11:30 pregame, noon kick against Wake Forest. And then at night, we've got the Knowles and the Canes. So we've got a good Saturday for you. Here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, we got the game 2 of Lord Stanley's Cup tonight. Stars and the Lightning also. So we got that going for you. which is nice.
And we also have the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's something we do every day to finish up the show. We'll do that next before we get ready for the bonus Twitch hour. Break down the Big Ten in the bonus Twitch hour. No, I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yes,
it was
Big-
good alliteration. And
Big
Moulton and I
Ten
love
schedule release. That's
and
what we're doing.
Boy, oh boy, like someone in the Twitch chat room pointed out, Nebraska, for all your bitching, we're going to give you Ohio State and Penn State.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Like you. Right. Exactly. You want to leave this conference? Take this with you.
Miller and Moulton. Watch us right there at twitchtv.Miller and Moulton.
Welcome to the program.
Or twitch.tv/Miller and Moulton.
Whatever.
One or the other. Just figure it out. You know the particulars. Come on.
Now, he did target him 10 times, but he had
Who do the Knowles beat this year? Yeah. Right now, over under. If it was 3.5, I'd go under.
All right, I'm looking at opening lines here, David, and I don't know if there's still this. Can I just give you two numbers, and I got to figure out the rest of this stupid segment in a second? But Pitt's a 5.5-point favorite over Louisville. Did anybody watch Pitt play Syracuse? They're awful. I mean, I know they won, but Syracuse is a grease fire. So that one is a little interesting off the bat.
Landry's offline? Huh.
Why is Landry offline?
Oh. Because if it's offline, we're not doing a bonus hour.
No, that's on me. Damn it. What did I screwed up.
Hi, Dr. Mark here.
I put us on YouTube this morning by mistake, hitting buttons. This is what happens when you're doing crap way too early. God damn it.
For one of our award-winning service plans. We're a family company, and for over 40 years, we've been doing